country, every decade pretty much had an ism.
I need to brush up on my isms.
Hey, yo, what's ism? Get the money. Yeah, it's ism, get the money.
Ideologies are always really kind of difficult because they're ideas, they're different ways of looking at the world, and they all end in ism, and isms are intimidating. So today, let me see if I can help you understand the isms.
Yeah. One time, I thought I told you, nigga. Niggas know a nigga about his isms,
Isms have done so much damage, but people still believe in them.
Talking shit, I might just have to get him. Bitch, I got that flow, I got that wisdom. Bitch, say no to me, I'm Mr. Ism.
I hereby turn over to Ism Incorporated everything I have, including my freedom and the freedom of my children and my children's children, in return for which said ism promises to take care of me forever.
Isms nigga. Thought I told you I'ma have to get him, nigga. Oh, bitch, I got that flow, I got that wisdom. Bitch, say no to me, I'm Mr. Ism.
Isms, in my opinion, are not good. A person should not believe in an ism. He should believe in himself.
And not be clouded with the great isms.
Bitch! What the fuck?
Now you about to fucking lose it. Woo. Niggas know a nigga about his isms. Talking shit, I might just have to get him. Bitch, I got that flow, I got that wisdom. Bitch, say no to me, I'm Mr. Ism. Isms nigga. Thought I told you I'ma have to get him, nigga. Oh, bitch, I got that flow, I got that wisdom. Bitch, say no to me, I'm Mr. Ism.
I was like, if you don't get your ass off my channel.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Critically Drinking. I'm your boy, Rashawn. Now, as we wait for the illustrious Kawaii Bree to grace us with her presence, we will go through what we are talking about today. So real quick, shout out to OG Patrice. Shout out to Apex, man. Appreciate both of y'all for stopping through. Today, we are talking about the deceptions that we pull over our own eyes in relationships. So I know I put marriage in the title. Everybody doesn't care about getting married, but in their relationships, we do need to understand the deceptions that we bring into those dynamics. And as Bree gets her camera, avatar, whatever connected, I just want to do a bit of a little bit more housekeeping. I will be on tonight on Twitch. It is my 1 year Twitch anniversary, so I'm going to actually show up on Twitch. I ain't been there in a minute, so I'm going to be there tonight. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I will be here tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern as well, talking about more deception, how people use data to deceive, but I'm going to talk about a few other things as well. One of the things I'm going to bring back around, because it's still ongoing, and not just because it's ongoing, I find that the conversation is interesting. The Ebony K. Williams, there's some concepts that I want to pull out of that conversation, some like philosophy that I think will be interesting to talk about. Maybe people will join me, maybe they won't. We'll find out tomorrow. Thursday night, I know I'm going to have trigger warning with my nephew. He wanted to have a challenging conversation, so I don't often share my most controversial opinions with y'all. I honestly don't. Every now and then one will leak out, like women should be removed from the workforce. Like every now and then something will come out that but mostly I'm going to say Thursday, because he wanted a more challenging, more controversial conversation. Okay. We're going to talk about the stuff that me and him are willing to talk about off screen, but we're going to bring it on camera so y'all can participate. If you're sensitive about anything, religion, blackness, gender identity, if you're sensitive about any of that stuff or feel bashed or put upon, don't show up. Please don't. Because I'm not catering to that Thursday evening. But feel free to come and join the conversation if you choose to, or don't. Doesn't really matter. And we have Brizzle. Brizzle in the building. What up?
Okay. Hello. I'm hoping that you cannot hear my fan. Can you hear my fan?
Is that really loud rotary sound? Like it just sounds like a helicopter?
Yes.
I'm
Is it
joking.
that bad?
I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
Nah.
Like,
we're
oh
flying.
my God. I don't want to be hot. I need this fan on. Okay.
Nah, do what you need to do. I'm not one of those people. Like, is that water dripping in your bathroom?
No, as long as it's not like, because sometimes it does. It makes my mic kind of weird. So as long as it's not like, if you notice my mic kind of cutting in and out, it's that. So just let me know.
Got you. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Quantum said, F marriage. Get that more. And that's what I was saying. It's not really about marriage. It's about relationships. Like a committed partnership. You know, I just use marriage because it worked with the word marriage, mirage. I know. I don't hear it, but I'll say I do so I can kick off breezy. Exactly.
Nah, I was gonna have to pull off. I was about to be like, well, it's being real. I'm gonna be hot. I'm about to sit in this hot ass room. See you.
Grimy.
I was gonna be out of here. But yes. Hello, sorry everybody. The kids were kidsing. My nephew wanted to buy some charms from me, and he learned how to count out money and change, and it took a little minute. Count out that little 66 cents.
There's no way over there.
So yeah, it's just the kids kind of needed a lot at once. But I'm here, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
Cool. All right, now I'm trying to get my daggone shirt. I don't know why it wants the butterfly collar today, but I don't even care.
When the afro disappeared?
I got tired of the other. When I was having a little crisis. Oh. I rested in my feminine.
Oh,
I did the big chop. I did the big chop. You know what I'm saying? Because I was heated. I was angry. I was ready to cut everything off. And I was like, I started with my hair. I was like, dang, I'm really in my divine
that's
feminine.
how you know you in crisis. I've had a shaved head a few times in my life. Like 3 times to be exact. So yeah, I know that feeling. But hey, better to cut your hair than cut tires, stab people, cut people off sometimes. Better to cut your hair. It'll grow back.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you how let me tell you then, because I did that too. So this is how it went. Oh. First, I pulled out the clippers, just started cutting. They died, right? As soon as I got most of the hair off, the clippers died because they were rechargeable. It's like they died. I'm like, oh, so now I'm super pissed. Like as soon as I get to the end of like cutting my hair off, they die, so I can't even really clean it up. So I'm like, all right. So I got to pull out the charger, put it on the charger, so I'm pissed. Then I changed my phone number. I'm like, okay, I don't even care. I'm changing my phone number. Like,
we went
boom.
through a whole breakup. Who did we break up with?
I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm gonna tell you, man. It was like I'm done. I told you, man. I told y'all in the Discord, man. I was done. What is up, Dory in the building? Hello. Appreciate you. Why did I just get into an argument with a homeless man? This man, I know
energy.
Like, no, sir. Everything is in an evil.
He's probably never met somebody like me either. He's probably ran into people who keep cash. I don't keep cash.
Mm-hmm. Everything, no, sir. Everything's why you gotta explain this to him? Yeah, Mercury got me. Mercury got me.
Can't even cut your damn hair without taking.
Can't even cut my hair, and it's not like I cut my hair often. So obviously, like there should have been a charge on the thing. Like,
well, batteries die if you don't charge
them. But it was charged. Like it should have been charged.
How long ago though? How long?
I mean, you saw the afro. Had been what, 3 months?
I'm just okay. So
4 months.
The charge be going away.
I guess.
That's like a problematic relationship take.
Excuse me. That's what you get, Quantum. No wave cap. Yeah. I was a little cleaned up today, so
it's
I figured.
Getting hot. It's time. I cut my toddler's hair.
Right.
I cut like.
Oh God, it's getting hot.
Yeah, I cut like 3 inches off her hair.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Maybe
more. That was another consideration.
Yeah.
That was another consideration. It was itching, like like the hair starts to curl back and touch your skin. So it was making me
I don't know
itch
what
because I
that
think it
I
was a
don't
bug.
know. No, that's only something like men
Oh,
say, because I don't
oh
know what the
God.
fuck y'all be talking about when y'all talk about how the hair on your head feels when it does
Oof.
what hair does,
Ooh.
which is grow.
Ooh.
I don't have the
Ooh.
luxury or privilege to understanding what you're talking about.
Okay, like your wig hair never touches your neck.
It's long, so it's kind of like I don't. You smile when it curl back on, and you like what? No, I don't know. I can't relate to that language. I don't know.
It ain't never brushed. Okay, it's long, so it's never like brushed your arm and you thought it was something else.
Okay, yeah, like if it brushed my arm, like way down on my arm, because I got a long ass wig that's way longer than my hair growing out of my scalp. The hair growing out of my scalp has never shook me when it touched me. I'm just saying, because it's like the length. But when I suddenly have long hair and I feel something brush my arm, I'm like, what the fuck is that? That's the only time it happens.
Got you. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Forget all of y'all that don't empathize with men when our hair touches our skin and we think it might be a bug. Forget all of y'all because y'all got such long hair and wigs and all this other stuff that you're so used to brushing up against you.
Record show. I'm a bald head hoe. So go ahead. Let's.
Ridiculous. I want to start off today's conversation with a question from Quantum. Quantum, about a week ago, did ask a question that she wanted us to address on stream or like to have a show about. And this is pretty much a stream about that question, Quantum. Okay. So you asked us, does love require trust? Does love require trust? And because I'm me, I kind of made that an abstract question, like, what is trust? So that's kind of what today's conversation is about, because the ways we deceive ourselves means trust is almost irrelevant because we lie to ourselves. So everything we say to somebody else is kind of not the truth anyway. So that's where we're going to start today's topic. Where does love require trust? Bree, do you believe that love requires trust?
Okay, I'm gonna be annoying, and like when you say love, like, do you mean like real love or like agape love, like eros love?
So you're gonna pull a me? You're gonna pull a me and be irritated?
I'm just saying
too.
because like I can be erotically drawn to you and like have that eros love, and I don't gotta trust you for that. I don't think that's all fair. Types of love require trust either. Like, what is trust? Like, I also don't need to trust my kids to love them. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
So like, there are some types of love that don't require trust, I would say.
Absolutely. And that was the first thing I did. I went and looked up those 8 Greek love types. And like, do I need to trust? Like, do I need to trust to do any of these? And for most
of them, I think. Some of them, I think.
I'm going to tell you. What I decided upon was that love doesn't require trust, but a relationship does. A relationship requires trust. The love doesn't, because.
But I feel like there are some types of love that you will only like kind of. Okay, so I think the loves exist outside of relationships. Like love is a force or a thing that doesn't only exist in relationships. But I feel like some of the loves, like you will only experience in a relationship.
Okay.
To some degree. So that's why I guess I'm like. Maybe.
Yeah, and the stuff is so interlinked, and I think even conceptually in our minds, a lot of times we can't separate. Like, where does trust and respect and love and relationship? Where are the boundaries of those? You know what I'm saying?
People think they the same. That's like
exactly.
An annoying thing to me. That's an annoying thing to me.
And not even speaking to how most people mistake what love is, because some people their feelings of attachment. Or their feelings of longing or feelings of lust, they'll consider those love. Right. So it's really difficult to answer that question, but we're going to talk about it in a roundabout way. I do know that as far as a relationship, like the dynamic of which is basically built on trust, I say like a contract of sorts, an unspoken a lot of times it's unspoken. Yeah. But that trust is needed between two people who are kind of agreeing to be in relationship to each other on any level, romantic or not. Yeah. And trust is needed for that. I don't think it has a direct imprint on love, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's important for collaboration.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to trust people in all the ways, but there needs to be a certain level of trust for whatever's necessary for said collaboration.
I agree. Because I know myself, because I have trust issues. I don't trust anybody like 100%. I don't trust anybody 100%. I trust everybody in the realm that I can trust them in. Like everybody has a trust cone that you get a slice of trust, but you don't get all the trust. But it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But I'll also say most people get a slice of love too. Nobody really gets all the love, because when I look at all of those 8 Greek love types, nobody really gets all those. What is up, Vaughn Bryant in the building? And Truth, appreciate both of you gentlemen. Go ahead,
Hello. Bray. Yeah, I don't think trust is needed, like 100% trust, because people are humans. I think for me, like I expect people to be human, and then there's like so many things that you just can't know how someone's going to respond until they go through it. So I don't even feel like trust is the appropriate thing. 100% trust is the appropriate thing to look for all collaborations. Like I'm just even like thinking about work. Like I don't have to trust, you in all these ways, but I should be able to trust your skill as like a nurse. Like when I was a nurse, like I trust your skill as a nurse. That's pertinent to the collaboration that we're trying to do together. But I think is it a reality to trust anybody 100%? I don't know if that's necessary. I'm just thinking, like for me, like the people around me, do I say I trust them 100%? I don't feel like that's a necessary thing for me to feel, if that makes sense. I don't know, like to feel, because it's just so many things you can never know. And then people are human, and then people have their own trauma that they carry, and people have their own experiences and people have breaking points. So I just can't imagine just feeling like I can 100% know. I think a trust is knowing that they're going to do the expected thing. And I just don't feel like I feel that way about anybody.
Facts. I like what you said, because this came up a lot when I was kind of looking into it. This came up multiple times. Like trust no one but God. That came up. Like I saw it like 3 or 4 different times when I was kind of looking into it, because you really can't trust people except to, like you said, to the point they're human. And then to the point of the understanding that you have between each other. And then we've been watching couples therapy. Even if you trust them to the point that they've given their word on something, you have to trust them, like you said, to the point of their trauma, because their trauma will drive them to do some things that you wouldn't agree with.
Yeah, and they probably themselves wouldn't even agree with. But what someone say they would realistically want to do versus when their trauma response kicks in, it's just oftentimes 2 different things as well. So I just find myself not needing that assurance. I think trust is like overused a lot as this assurance that people want, that this person is going to behave in expected ways all the time. And I just don't feel like that's a necessary thing always.
Now here's where Rashawn gets triggered, because Bree has this thing that you should not look for assurances.
I wasn't trying. I'm just like I was just trying to really articulate like how I feel about it. Like I just don't. When I think about how I hear people use trust, I think that's what I hear behind it a lot. Like I hear behind it a lot of like when people talk about trust, it's like this. I need to feel like I can predict, I'm going to know what you're going to do. And like, maybe it's cynical to be like, I don't think a lot of people know what they're going to do 100% of the time. So I don't know.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm not.
I agree. No. I know you're not trying to trigger me. I'm just saying there's that thing that you said about like people should go into relationships and not be able to feel kind of secure in that zone, because you said I can't remember exactly how you worded it, but it was like there are no assurances. And I saw that. I believe that as people there are some assurances we should be able to give and that we should be able to rely upon. Like there is like character, like trust is a real thing, because some people do live up to it. Trust is something that's earned in all relationships. We tend to trust until it's broken. Like, I believe there should be some assurance, especially when people are talking about marriage or long-term committed relationships. I do believe, now you can't make sure nothing will ever happen, but I believe the intention of not intentionally doing harm to you that kind of should be what should be trusted upon. Like, I'll never intentionally just do you dirty. Like, that
It's
will
like
never
Brock
come.
and it's like Brock and Christy on that couples therapy is what I
Man,
is that was like Brock was like, he's like, I want commitment. I want you to say that you won't intentionally hurt me. And she's like, I can't promise you that. But I heard what Brock was saying, because I would agree with you. Like, in the realm of, we've been through some shit already. You've lived out these experiences. You should be able to like assure me to some degree of like how you would navigate something you've been through. Like, you should have, the experience to say, well, yeah, typically I have a level head, or I do this, or I do that. So it was kind of weird that she felt like it was crazy for him to need that assurance after she purposely did it before. That was just weird to me. So I do agree. I think in the realm of things you've experienced and you've observed somebody, and like, there are things that you should be able to have that assurance of. But in the realm of life, I don't think if you're insecure about something, there's also that space where there's nothing anybody could ever tell you to make you feel like that assurance is true. So
right. And that's where the trust comes in. It's a type of faith. It's love within itself does not require trust. It just loves regardless. Now, on the other hand, because the love of man has waxed cold, it has a different connotation. What we call love isn't love. And you can't control others' behavior and where they draw the line in the sand or cement. Yeah, you can't. You cannot. So, but that's the hard part. One of the hard parts of relationships is the next person's line isn't where my line is, but we try to make the relationship work, but our lines get crossed, so it ends up going sideways. So I really don't know how. I don't have an answer other than communication. Honest communication is necessary for everything, but it's really hard to do. I understand that. One of the reasons is because of this next thing we want to talk about is because there are avatars, there are proxies, there are things that stand in the place of some other thing in your mind. So it's hard to communicate because you're communicating about where the children go to school. Or matter of fact, let's keep it recent. You might be communicating about your partner's job. Maybe they drive a bus, right? So, and you have a feeling about that, but it's not because of the bus. It's because that means something else to you. Him driving a bus stands for a lack of mobility, a lack of ambition,
flexibility.
It stands for all kinds of different things, but you don't know what it stands for in a person's head. You just know they had a strong response. You drive a bus? Bus? Bus. Yeah, avatars unite. But that's the thing. And it won't just be the job. It'll be all kinds of things. Everything can stand for something else in somebody's mind. Anytime somebody has a strong response, it's because that thing is it's something else. There's something else there. It wasn't just the dishes that they snapped on you for. It was because that meant something else. It meant something. And a lot of times it goes back to
80% of relationship arguments, I swear to God.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's like 80%.
Clearing up.
I feel like you heard me say something, and then like something's happening there. It's like, okay, what's going on? And then will the person just come out and say it? It's like, that's a 50-50 toss up, because most of the time they won't. So,
and most of the time they can't, because they haven't even identified it. Like, we were working through that with me. Like, what did this represent? Because Candidate was like, I don't understand why you care so much about the cloud watchers. But I'm like, but it meant something to me. It's meant something to me for a long time, but I didn't do the work to figure out what it was. And going through that back and forth exchange, I was able to, okay, this is what it is. And this is why I feel that way. But sometimes it really takes
Sunday therapy circle. That shit was
man.
Y'all help me. I was like, okay, look at me. Let's the feelings process. Now I can have my drill crazy ass up here. We needed to process some emotions. Just needed to process.
Because all of that, that stuff, all that whole situation, that meant something else to you. It wasn't just a situation. It meant something else, and it triggered something else. And same thing for me. All of it ties back to something in our mind, and identifying what that is what's important. That way we can move forward, like one way or another. It doesn't have to be a certain outcome. You might cut ties because of what that meant to you. Like, no, that has to be a hard line for me. Once you identify what it is, it's not really an avatar. Now that I've identified what it is, this means security to me, and I will not compromise my security. So we do have to approach this stuff intelligently. As long as that bus isn't his final stop, it's all good. That bus is every stop. He's a bus driver.
Yeah,
That's all he's going to do is make stops.
He loved it. He said
First
he
stop.
loved being a bus driver.
Last stop.
He ain't trying to be nowhere else. He's trying to get his pension, and he got retired.
Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, he gonna be on that bus. He gonna be on that bus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've learned a long time ago. I learned it the wrong way, of course, but I learned a long time ago. It's not typically the thing. Is there some kind of principle behind it? Oh, see, quantum. Well, I'm straight then. You know what? See, it's quantum now. Quantum about to trigger me. People, I think, also need to learn how to use language to communicate. I was sitting there thinking about it. And again, from couples therapy too, but I was thinking about it. And it was like, how do we use language? Because I was like, everybody was using language for different reasons. And I was like, one was like, and you know, I like alliteration. So like one was trying to hunt. Like, I'm trying to hunt down some information. I'm trying to find you. You know, where are you? Why aren't you here? Like there's the hunting language. There was also a lot of hurting language. You know, a lot of, you know, shade, shaming, name calling.
Yeah.
There was chastising.
Or to manipulate kind of to some content. Yeah.
Quantum, it seems like you and every other woman in the United States of America is naturally attracted to men who want more than just a job. It seems to be in the water. It's something that you all drink. I don't know what it is. So yes, I would assume. I'm just going to make a wild guess. You know, the spirits are stirring in me,
with
Quantum.
jobs. I'm okay with jobs.
The spirits, Quantum, are stirring in me, and they're telling me that he probably needs to make at least 6 figures. Oh, God. Woo. I don't know where that came from.
Fly, huh?
On the fly. And I bet you something else is coming through. 6 feet. 6 feet tall. Oh, God. Whoa, boy. Man. Woo. Please, I don't know why that's coming through so strongly. 6 feet, 6-figure income, and let me quit. You know, Quantum, you're naturally attracted to men who have a job. Ambition is sexy as fuck. You know what? So is women that ain't always talking about a man's ambition. That's sexy too. You know. Ooh.
Wow. It's getting hot. Ooh. It's May. It's gonna be May. I mean,
hey, listen.
But no, I think people should watch couples therapy. Rashawn was just explaining in his alliteration the ways people use language.
Also, real quick, because the next one was to hurl, because I wanted to do my little to hurl, to push off, to cast off responsibilities onto the next person. I want to push this off on you. I'm going to hurl this your direction. So my need to feel secure financially, let me hurl that on you, mister. I like ambition. It's sexy to me. So yes, hurling is another way that people use language, Quantum. But no, I want to appreciate Quantum too, because when I challenge the stuff you say in the chat, you don't get in a tizzy. I mean, because there's been a few people I've challenged and I have not seen them since I challenged them. So shout out to you to being able to accept challenge.
Yeah.
Nah, man, I can't do this 9-to-5 shit until I'm my 50s. The life math ain't life math.
I think having a job. I think having a job doesn't mean 9 to 5 either.
Right. We're chasing symbols rather than realities. Nope, I'm not a 6 feet motherfucker at all. Okay, that's what's up. That need to feel secure financially is deepened by many of their own financial insecurities or belief maybe they can't get the bag themselves. Ooh.
Or life has shown them that as well, that they're not, so it's like a shortcut, you know what I mean, to some.
What up, Summer? Hey, Summer.
Hello.
It feels like summer. We got to play that. I need a clip, but it feels like summer. Let me see. Just over broke is a starting point for life. Jesus Christ.
Just over broke.
What about just under broke?
I mean, what's the difference? I mean, what is technically a job? Is that just like working for somebody else, period? Or is it?
I think there's a specific, like, that's another avatar.
5 over, like, what is job? Because I mean, there's some really good paid Job. So
Yeah.
I think most people say job versus career. I think they're all technically. I mean, unless there's some kind of etymology that I'm missing.
Right. I know for me, the connotation for career has always been there's upward mobility. You know, maybe you start by mopping, but then you go to fries, then you go to the burgers, then you go to the cashier, then you go to, you know, the assistant manager, then manager, then district, then regional. Like, you know, there's a progression for career. I believe that's what most people use when they say career. A job is just a job. It's just a way to make money, and you're not necessarily moving up.
Or you might not be there long term, right? Because I like you can take odd jobs, or you could do like it's work, but it's not like consistent. You know, like it's not guaranteed to be years and years and years. Like a career is something that you assume if somebody said, "This is my career, I'm going to be kind of in that lane to some degree for a very long time." Versus a job might be like here, you can take odd jobs. So I just kind of also wonder when people say job, like, because I think Quantum is talking about anything that's not ownership is a job. Because she said ownership is key. So I'm assuming that job for her means anything that you're not your own boss is a job.
Yeah. I said this is like a perfect example of there's avatars. This stuff what we're saying is this stuff has a secondary meaning to everybody. Like everybody knows what a job is. You go and apply for a job and you start working. But it means different things to different people. Some people means, it's a trap. I'll be stuck there forever. Somebody else, it's like, this is the way I start my path towards financial freedom. I work and I do something on the side. And a job means something different to everybody. Some people look down on it. Some people look up to it. Job is also a symbol in their head, like bus driver. But if that job pulled in $400K a year, they'd be happy with that over 100K CEO.
Yeah.
I feel we are competing in the wrong way. I think we mistake competing as doing it alone. I think relationships are better competing in a teammate fashion. I agree. 3-legged race.
Yeah. I mean, two people is just more efficient in a lot of ways. You can get a lot more things done well if you have more people. I don't think it even stops with just a relationship. Like you can have community, you can have people to collaborate in different realms. I think the more the merrier to some degree. I mean, depending on how much you're talking about building and stuff like that. I think career can be 9 to 5. If your hours are 9 to 5, right? Like a lot of government jobs in the career field are 9 to 5. 9 to 5s are not all like and that's the thing. I think a lot of people like working class and low income people are bringing that to the conversation. But like, just let's be real. There are 9 to 5s that paying some good ass money, but most of us haven't seen that. So like for most of us, 9 to 5 means most jobs people are talking about aren't even actually what we would historically call a 9 to 5, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. We've just kind of gotten a lot of like weird additions into things that like, shit, my husband work a job, I guess you could call it a job, and shit. Yeah, work that job, player. Go to work. Go ahead. Go be on your way. Get that W-2. He is a W-2 employee. You know what I'm saying? So
take some time off, King. Take some time off.
Get that W-2. You know what I'm saying?
Take some time off, King. Take some time off for yourself, man.
I think he's gonna be done in another week. So he's been working since March. So
that's what's up. Jesus Christ. Woo!
Yeah.
And them days ain't no joke. You said 12-hour days. Jesus Christ.
7 days
take a drink on that.
7 days a week. Yeah.
Oh, God.
That man been working nonstop since he left. But I mean, it's not like he ain't sitting at no desk or nothing. But I mean, that's still a lot. Though.
Right. That's even worse. If you're sitting at a job that's for 12 hours, that'd be one thing.
Clock out there. I mean, because like what you jump on a roof, maybe 1 or 2 a day. That's the most active part of the job. The rest of the day, you at the hotel just doing your task and stuff like that. So it's still a lot, though. There's still a lot of mental load to know you're on the clock every day.
Ooh. Nothing wrong with 9 to 5, but that's not freedom.
Yeah,
see, that's also a symbol. I need to. That's another symbol, though. Like that's what I love about this. That's what I love about like philosophy. Like everything is a symbol for something else. It's like you escape a 9 to 5, but entrepreneurship That's not freedom
I own
either.
a business. It's like a lot. Like for me, it's worse. And when I say he doesn't sit at a desk, it's just like he's not in a call center or anything. Like he's at a hotel, like most of those 12 hours. Like 2 hours out of the day, 2 or 3 hours, he's like out, and then the rest of the day, he's like at the hotel or at home, and he's working. That's what I mean by like not at a desk. But I have a business, and I'm like, that shit ain't freedom. For real, for real. I mean, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy and input and money in the first couple years. And like, I mean, I agree with Quantum. Like, it's great if my business blows up. That's like great because, you know, then that'll be later on but like what percentage of small businesses really turn into these like income generator? You know what I mean? What, like how many small businesses? I think Rashawn was looking at them stats on the stream the other day where it was like the percentage of like
she said
Black businesses, or was that you? It was like 3%, but then it was like 1%, and we were like the only group that
we were at the bottom.
Like a negative. Yeah, so I'm just like, I do agree. I think if you have the freedom to, like me, I don't work, so like I can put that energy in, but like I'm not gonna hold you. Like my husband don't really have the room to be like, I'm just gonna start a small business and we just be broke for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
He just don't have that freedom to do that.
Yeah,
he is the only breadwinner. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think that
everything's a trap. Everything's a trap, and I think one of our self deceptions that we do, it might be necessary. It might be a necessary delusion. Right. And this is something I was maybe going to start the stream with on Thursday, because like Quantum said, every damn thing got to be a lot. The fuck? It is. Like everything is just a different trap. It's just a different shaped cage. Like, because freedom ain't free. Like the cost of freedom is eternal vigilance, because somebody's gonna be looking to take it from you. So you're not free,
right?
Because you've always got to look for the next threat. Like there is no way to completely escape like threats and lack trying to creep up on you. You can't ever really get complacent. Like close your eyes and rest, because life be lifing.
When you start getting over like a lot of money, when you start getting over the money that people are talking about, when they're saying like, I'm trying to do this to make this much money, whether it's working a career, a job, or owning a business that's the 6-figure profit maker, like not just we generated 6 figures. No, like y'all generated 6 figures and then you took home 6 figures. Like I think the more this stuff scales up, in my experience, like I've just seen that it just take a lot. It's a time sink. It don't matter which realm you do it in. Like people who make a lot of money, unless you own generations of money where now this money makes itself because you've absorbed smaller businesses and stuff, and you have a corporation. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think it all takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time.
And moving on to the next, life is a lot. So what? Too many excuses. Not making excuses. I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying what I'm saying, Quantum. The reason I'm saying what I'm saying, Quantum, is for some of us who think differently. It's important to know that you're not going to reach a place where everything just gets easy. A lot of people are looking for a part of life where everything just gets super easy. And a lot of us don't get that because of the choices that we make. And we need to understand that the choices we make come with different types of activity, different types of work. And we're going to talk about that within the realm of relationships today. Because this doctor talks about it being a toxic thought. We think there's going to be a place where we don't have to exert any effort. So that's not an excuse. That's trying to remove the delusion from some of us, because a lot of resentment and bitterness people get is because they think I'm going to do this thing and it's going to solve all of my problems. It might be losing weight. It might be having a kid. It might be getting married. It might be getting a divorce. It's something. Everybody has a different avatar in their head. What's going to make my life easy? And that's not a thing. You're just exchanging problems. Which problem is better for you to handle?
Yeah, easy is going to just depend. I don't think it gets easy. And I mean, that's not to say a lot of these choices aren't worth it. I think that that's just one of the things why sometimes a partnership is great, because you don't have to give up one to try sometimes, like for like in our example, I say like my husband likes his job. He makes great money. It gives enough where we have surplus, therefore we can use that surplus to invest. So I don't think one realm is necessarily bad, especially if it's giving you surplus to do the things that are smart.
You cut out. Fan finally got you. Snip. Finally got cut.
But
Wow,
I think if
there
the
she go.
job is giving you enough to do that other stuff that comes with financial freedom, then that's more so the stance I'm coming from. I think a lot of people kind of is either or, but I think if either one of those can give you the space to be able to invest, buy whatever, buy some land, buy a house, then go with the one that is obtainable for you. And that's kind of more so what I say to people, because I have a sibling who his job is cute, real cute, so it's giving him extra money to invest and like buy those things that are going to set him up later or set his kids up. So I'm not really in the thing that I think it's just not a safe bet to say that a job can't do all those things, because there definitely are some that can.
Yeah. And hello again, Mrs. She Said. I know Bree was talking when I said hello, so good to see you. Thank you for coming through. Life is a blessing. It's like mentality, all on how you look at it. That may determine mindset too, all on how you look at it, because some people, what they're going through, their circumstances, they wouldn't consider it a blessing. Like everybody has their own different path, and the only thing I'm talking to is quantum people like myself who need to understand things to move forward. I'm a person that I need to understand it to move. I'm just one of those people. So yes, it's not the same for everybody. I'm speaking for the people.
Yeah, my mom's a lot like
me.
quantum too. Like my mom's always wanted to own her own stuff, always kind of has, and that was her path. So
that's what's up. And as there's a path. That's the wonderful thing about life. There's enough paths for everybody. Go that way. I'm gonna go this way. Maybe we meet in the middle, or not. Going really quickly back to I don't even really need to go back into that. But what's a way that you lie to yourself, Brie? What is a way that you deceive yourself? What are some general ways that people deceive themselves? If you don't want to answer how you deceive yourself personally, what are some general ways that people deceive themselves?
Because I be like buying real clothes and I be like, I'm gonna put this on, and I'm not. I'm gonna put on workout pants. And then like sometimes I imagine that like I'm actually gonna like one day make a schedule and it's gonna like hang up in my house and I'm gonna follow it, and I'm not. What else? I mean, most of the lies I tell myself, I think, are just this version of myself that I'm constantly like wondering if I'm gonna be or strive to be. I feel like that's probably where most of it is, because I always, I'm like, oh, I can do better. But then I'm also content. So I'm like, do I want to do better? So most of my lying to myself comes from like my own self. Who do you want to really be? And I'm like not working and I have a lot of free time. So now I just feel like guilty about it. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff in there.
No, I get you. I know for me, my biggest issue for the biggest majority of my life was that whole nice guy, good guy thing. That was the biggest lie that I was telling myself. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I'm a good person because I did all these things. I did all the right things. I did all the nice things. I said all the nice things. Then finally I realized, man, because I had too much friction. Either I was unhappy with playing the role for people, or they were unhappy because I kind of flaked out. I was like, you know what? I'm just not a nice guy. That's cool. I'm not a nice guy. I really don't want to do this stuff for you. And I got to be okay with that. I don't want to help you out. I don't want to help you move. I don't want to spend time with you. Like I had to just accept that. Like it's okay.
That's real.
It's okay for me to just not like things. And it took me a long time to get into that. To come out of that lie.
I've definitely been making an announcement to people I care about, who I like I'm in close proximity with in life. Like, please, I'm just getting too old for this. Can we just accept that I'm not going to volunteer to do a lot of things for you just because like that's not how I show care and consideration. Like I'm always willing to do it if you ask me directly, but just like in the sense of it just doesn't appear in my realm of like, I don't think about it. Like, I don't think about it if it's not a task I usually do. So, but I know there's a lot of people who take that personally. Like, if you see me doing this, why wouldn't you just volunteer to do it? And so that's one of the things that I've gotten to the point where I'm like, because, I've been staying with my mom for a while and they clearly have a flow to like how they move. And so I'm just here and I'm like, then one day she's like, if you would like to, can you do the dishes? So I'm like, I'm never going to like to, want to, or desire to. So if you want to ask me to do them, then just say it and I will make sure I do them. And I'll ask you, like, would you like for me to do them? How often? And then we can have that conversation. But I just hate when people project like that's consideration and like not for me. I just could care less about the fucking dishes. So like if you want me to do it, then just ask me and I will happily help in and step in and help. But so that's kind of one of those, as I get older, I just feel the need to have these conversations with people because I'm like, you really feel some type of way that I walk past these dishes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that happens a lot. That happens a lot. I promise you. It took me a while, like especially with my family. They had this way of asking without asking, so that they didn't have to, I guess, feel like they were asking. It's like, do you feel like running to the store for me? Like,
no.
I'm like, no, I don't feel like going to the store. And it would start fights.
Right.
So I would say no and
just
keep walking.
Like, did you want me to go? Did you see that happening in your head? Like you saw me going to help you? Like,
and drill.
I don't know. I just hate it.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship thing for sure.
Yeah, they'd be like, we're all chilling, but I'm supposed to feel like going to the store all of a sudden. We see everybody's chilling.
Right.
Everybody's chilling. Everybody's cool. Everybody's watching a movie or TV. You feel like going to the store? Huh? No, I feel like going to, I feel like doing what I'm doing. I feel like doing what I'm doing.
Right? Right.
Like, boy, that used to be irritating.
I mean, even like my mom, she did that to me. She was like, "You should go outside." I'm like, "I don't want to go outside." But I think she was like worried about me. I think she was worried about me being in a depressed slump. But I do have a son since so like during certain times of the year between like April and May, I have to kind of be careful about what time I go outside because I'll get like a response. I'll get sun poisoning. Now it's fine, but like she doesn't consider that. So I'm like, I'm not finna just be outside. So don't like come at me like you being in the house too much. I'm like, I ain't got shit to do outside. Like I'm not a kid. I'm a grown ass person.
Let's go run. Skip.
Yeah, let's go skip. Let's go frolic. We do go outside and frolic. That is an activity we do partake in purposely. So yeah.
Got you. I want to show you guys a way that some people self-deceive. It's not only with food, though. This video is going to be talking about self-deception with food, but I want you to understand that we do this with anything and everything. And Bree, in case you got to step away for a minute, this is 3 minutes. I got this built in the StreamYard, so can't pause it. It's going to let this play.
Quiz? Are you going to quiz us on it? Because I ain't going to know the answers.
No, I'm not going to quiz. It's just a way that people self-deceive. I'm sure you might catch a piece of it. Just watch part of it. You'll know. You'll catch one. You swift.
Denial, self-deception. It is so much more common than you think. Case in point, secret eaters. Over and over and over again, this British health TV show proves to its contestants they are lying to themselves about how bad their eating habits really are. In the very beginning of every episode, the host will inquire about what's going on with their weight, and the clueless contestants pretty much always say roughly the same thing.
I sometimes think I don't eat enough.
Because I don't eat that much.
Some days I don't have enough food, yeah.
The people around me are eating what I'm eating, yet they're a size 0. Most of the time I'm good.
The host, Anna, always plays it off like it's a mystery.
It just doesn't sound like you're eating that much. Little bit of a mystery going on here.
But she knows, and we know, exactly where this is going. The in-house cameras and the private detectives will inevitably catch the contestants eating far more than they think they are, even when these people are certain that they could not possibly be eating very much.
Hey, Ty.
How is this even
Ty?
It seems a little bit crazy that people could be this out of touch with what they're eating. And these people aren't sleep eating, they're not under a hypnotic spell, and they're not stupid. And yeah, it is possible that the show is just entirely faked, but the truth is we are scary good at lying to ourselves. So today we're discussing self-deception, behavior change of course, and my personal story of secret eating over the past year. Let's start with Natalie. Just like everyone on the show, Natalie thinks her diet is not that bad.
From one sense, I kind of think, oh, actually, I could be quite healthy really because I don't have fizzy drinks, I don't have salt, so...
Not a very high threshold for healthy, but yeah, okay.
I wouldn't say I had sugar. I wouldn't say my diet's high in sugar.
Oh, really?
Because I don't eat sweets or drink.
Oh, really?
So here we have someone who self-reportedly does not consume a lot of sugar. But then, of course, the show has their PIs follow her. And not only does Natalie regularly eat sugar, they catch her eating cake while walking her dog in the park multiple times. But Natalie's diet is actually one of the worst I have ever seen on the show. She's basically binge eating. Obviously, binge eating is a very specific thing, so we don't know if she technically meets the criteria. But in one fast food meal, she ordered this.
The woman ordered something, not the last order, but the one before. I want the same.
Right.
It's a large Coke. We've got large fries. We've got a large chicken sandwich, 2 double cheeseburgers, onion rings, and these are all the sauces to go with that.
A lot of people on the show eat really massive portions of food, but this is a step above that. And obviously I am biased, but as an ex-binge eater, I can almost feel that heart-pumping dopamine rush that would cause someone to order a meal this large. And this is a trend for her. On one Saturday, she ordered all of this.
2 sausages wrapped in bacon and filled with cheese.
2 Whisper bars and a coffee. Cup of coffee and a slice of chocolate and banana cake. Large portion of fries, beans, fried mini breast fillets, a chicken burger with a hash brown and lots of sachets of sauces. An evening of alcohol follows, adding another 1,600 calories. Fried chicken wrap and chips covered in sauce and a large bar of chocolate for dessert.
Assuming she eats this way with any sort of regularity, how could she possibly not know where her weight issues are coming from? Pretty sure they also said Natalie works for the police.
Yeah, and she worked for the police. It's like she's a bad detective. I don't know how they got cut off, but I thought that was really interesting because we do that with more than just food. There are so, and I know people, I know as a person that's surrounded by other big people, I've heard so many times, I don't even eat that much. Sometimes I think I put on weight because I don't eat enough. And I'm like, now come on. Like, come on.
It's because it's the shame. It's the shame.
Man.
I think makes you like think you convince yourself. The hits, the WandaVision hits, you know.
And there be other lies we tell ourselves. It's not just, like I said, it's not just about food. It might be the way you spend money. It might be the way you think it's okay for you to like put all the chores on your partner or try to, leave them with all the child care responsibilities.
Ooh, that's a good one. Like people thinking they help around more than they do.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not the primary.
I take out the trash.
Caretaker. Yeah, the person who's not the primary caretaker for the kids, I always think they do more than they do.
Yeah, Quantum, you can put on weight by putting your body in that thing where it's like holding on to every calorie. But is that all the big people? Like every big person is doing that? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
There's usually a little bit of delusion about like what actually is healthy eating in portions. Because most of us haven't done any work to learn that. That's one of the bigger delusions. Like people really think they know what healthy portions are. And it's like there's nowhere where we really learn it. So like why would you know that? You can't look at it from like fast food portions, like the portions that we get served in restaurants, because there's like way more. So I don't expect most people to know like what a healthy portion is. Yeah. So how can you even know you don't eat enough, like, or too little, too much? Most people don't know.
And then most of the things we buy come in containers. They just recently fixed this, especially with soft drinks. That kind of portioned out a single bottle into like 7 servings. I'm like, knowing that it would go flat if you had it in 7 different servings. Or, there's a lot of things that would be wasted if you ate it in the way the label said a portion is doled out. You'd have to have all kinds of special containers for parts of a snack cake.
You got to do all that multiplication to figure out like how many is, most people ain't going to do all that.
Apex and Quantum do intermittent fasting. I tried that for a minute. I fell off. I got to get back to it. It really was working. High-end restaurant portions work for me. That's what's up. Bree is correct. When you go outside the country, you realize how much we eat as Americans, and it is disgusting.
Oh my God. My mother-in-law gives me shit for like the portions I make for my kids because it's like correct portions. Like I grew up in a daycare and my mom had to go to like
them?
No, well, that's what she think. But it's like my mom had a home daycare for years, and part of her getting funding for it was she had to go to nutrition meetings. And so she always had to sit in and like learn proper portions for kids and stuff. And I also did like some nutrition when I was a nurse. And, like a meat serving is supposed to be like no bigger than your like fist, and based on the person. So it's like I try to serve my kids the correct portion and like a balanced meal. And every time she's just like, get him more food. I'm like, that's too much. That's too much food. It's a constant battle.
I know with my nephew, I had to let him eat until he was full because he did not. I didn't want to do what I got done as a kid. Like you better eat till everything's gone, or does somebody gonna heat your plate up?
Either. Right.
Yeah. So like, okay, you stop when you. My only issue with my nephew and his eating was throughout his entire life to this day. To this day. He leaves a little bit. Like, and I started calling him Little Bit because no matter what he was eating, no matter how much it was, he would leave a little bit. Food,
Yeah, I never finish all
drink.
my food. Drink. It drives my husband crazy. He'd be like, "Why this little?" I never finish all of anything. Never. I never have a clean plate. I never have a completely empty glass. I do the same thing. I don't know why. It's a habit.
A little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Always a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that comes from just like eating until you. My kids are raised that way. Yeah, we don't believe in happy plates or clean plates, and I trust them if they say they're hungry. Generally, their snacks and things. So, yeah, we kind of, but they don't really clean their plates either.
Did you say happy plates?
Yeah, like some people with toddlers will say happy plate is when you eat everything on your plate.
Wow.
And we don't do happy plates. Yeah, we don't.
Where am I going, Quantum? Am I going? Where's we? Who's we? And where y'all going?
Oh, to like a fancy restaurant. Shoot, when I worked at Emerald's, which was pretty fancy, them portions were big as hell.
We out.
Like,
we paying
you
with
eat a whole duck.
If y'all talking about leaving the country, I'm good. Y'all go ahead and handle that. Have fun. You realize how much you do need to eat if you chew your food. You literally only need to eat a third of what you eat now. Yes, spacing, pacing, those are important. I did learn that. Right. Another thing was, if you're doing things, you typically don't get like the boredom hunger. I noticed that.
Oh,
the boredom hunger, like I'm just doing something to do something.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything, so I'm chewing anything. So it's like I had to work through that. It's one of the reasons I like streaming sometimes. Take me out of like
if anything I think people do for like comfort as well. You tend to not have a good grasp of time. Because like there's gamers like that. Like when we were talking about people need to be honest about their gaming and stuff like that. Kind of there's some gamers who don't know how long they're gaming. They get in these marathons and they're like, I don't be gaming that much. I remember when back when we lived somewhere else, I like got a system where I'd be like, it's been this many hours, it's been this many hours. Not in the sense of just like rushing him, because I'm a gamer myself and I understand it. Like, but he gets so lost because sometimes he'll say, I'm gonna do this, and then the time will like sneak up on him because you just in it. And so I would just get this thing. I'd be like, we're not every hour, but after like a chunk of hours, because I'm like, well, or sometimes I'll say, hey, remember you said you wanted to go here today, and it's like 4:00. So, but a lot of times he was just like, damn, like that went by so fast. You're doing a raid with the homies, and you just before you know it, all the stores are closed, and you ain't went nowhere. So,
Definitely been there in my younger years. Yeah. Losing a whole weekend like Quantum did on Sims. For me, it happened on GoldenEye. Excuse me, Bond GoldenEye. Man. I remember cause I was about 20. I was young, but I wasn't in high school. So it's not right. Great. So me and my friends, we got the 4-player split screen.
Yep.
I remember when we finally finished, we walked outside and it was like 7 a.m. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. And I was like, man, I know I ain't going to work today. I know I'm calling in because it was ridiculous.
Man, a gaming session, you'd be like, I'm about to have to call out of work. Man, that's a good one.
It was crazy. It was insane.
That was SOCOM for me. On a PlayStation, they had the SOCOM games, like the Navy or whatever, Navy SEALs. Many a nights just gone. Because I was just playing it. So, yeah.
Whoo, man, I wish I could recapture that feeling of video games back then. Man, I wish I could recapture
freedom.
That.
I feel like that's the last time. That's real freedom. Like, I don't know. My mom gave us a lot of space to be kids. We didn't have like a ton of chores. We didn't have all these things that we had to do. And so like, that's the last time in my life where I really was just free. Like I could just stay up all night and play a game if I wanted to. I had no job to go to. I didn't work. Yet it was great.
Man. But going back to the video briefly, that kind of self-deception is one thing that a lot of us do. And we kind of put that on our partners. Like whoever our partner is carries the weight of that lie that we tell ourselves. But sometimes our partner is the one that asks us to lie. So Bree, I'm going to bring in one more Vitio, exactly. Time freedom. That is key. Ownership. That is key. You know what? Take your keys. Take your keys.
Shoot, are you even gonna be comfortable in it? Man, that's the real tea.
I'm gonna pull up another old video that kind of still has relevance in the conversation that we're having today. This conversation still applies to the gender dynamics between men and women. This was like a collegial exchange between, I would say, friends, not a real couple. Anybody that's not old enough to know who these people are. James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni, both excellent writers from their time, political figures, socio-political figures, especially from the Black freedom struggle, however you want to word it, civil rights, whatever. But they both spoke, I'll say they both spoke, as they say, I hate saying certain things, truth to power. They both spoke and used their words to say things more eloquently than might have been received otherwise. So they had a conversation. And I'm going to bring that in now. Let me switch this thing over. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Do-do-do.
I think that the only thing that's changed in the last, since Martin Luther King, since 54, I think the only thing that's really changed is the Black woman. And what she
No, I
said
don't think
is
she's changed. I think she's become more visible.
I think she's changed. Because there was a time, let's say my mother, you know what I mean, my aunts and things like that, they would say, okay, if that's the way you establish your manhood, I'm going to go for it. And my generation says, hey, no good.
Okay.
You must establish a new base.
I'll agree with that.
And we are, as a group, demanding that a new base be established.
Yeah, but be careful as a woman of what you demand of a man.
I demand that he be a man.
Yeah, but you can't
because
say,
the provision part.
Yeah, but you can't say you demand it. You have to suggest it.
Well, that's your ego that says that. No.
Now, real quick, same conversation we're having today. I demand that you be a man, the provision part, and the man saying you don't demand that of me, you can suggest it. So we're having the exact same conversation around Ebony K. Williams and this busting. I find it funny. Yeah, Black women got sick and tired and morphed into feminists. And did feminism get what feminists wanted? I'd say no, because we're having the same conversation here 50, 60 years later.
Nah, I definitely think feminism definitely got the feminists what they wanted. I don't know if it got the other people what they would want.
Who's the other people?
I think feminism was never really heavily focused on better relationship dynamics at all. I think that the whole point of feminism was so that women would eventually be able to have a life apart from partnership if they wanted to, be able to have autonomy in that. I don't feel like feminism ever aimed for healthy partnerships. I don't feel like that was in the mission statement.
I get you.
At all.
I get you. Yeah. I get you. I can agree with that. I would just think that people today who adopt feminist stances are also the same people who are talking about relationships. Now, the original feminists, sure.
Yeah, that's true.
They had a thing, but the people now who are adopting feminist stances, feminist rhetoric, or even claiming feminism are also saying
still want
they want relationships and say we can have it all. We can have it all. So they're trying to bridge those two gaps. So I did want to, I'll correct myself. You're right. The original feminists were not. They were looking for provision in lieu of the unhealthy relationships that they saw and did not want.
Yeah,
but now,
it's a way to be like free from the burden of a relationship. But it's like people who are feminists now don't actually know how to navigate because it's so built into like a lot of school of thoughts and stuff, and it's so built in now that like kind of being a feminism is kind of normal, and then you don't realize it's kind of almost in direct conflict in a lot of ways to traditional partnership or traditional gender roles. Or I mean, you know that, but it's like it's almost like a dissonance that they don't realize there is no blueprint for a relationship then if you are a feminist.
Facts.
I demand it. Now you deal with that.
All right. Okay. I'll even go with that.
I demand that you be a man, and I don't think that that's asking too much. Because if I wanted a provision, you know, I would get a camper. You know what I mean? I would get a camper that provides things. You know what I mean? You get an army surplus kit that provides things. I need a man. And black men have always been offered to provisions. People are either going to eat or starve to death. You know, the men of
Yeah, but
the people were starving, and they were still the men. Had to be that way through that horrendous kind of war, but it had to be that way because sometimes you are not able to feed your family. Sometimes you are not able to clothe your family. Do you then also deprive them of your manhood and of the input that a man has? Who teaches my son how to pee?
Yeah, but
you see?
Yeah, but you're talking. I agree with you. I see that very well. But
real quick, Bree, before they continue, because this is something I've been thinking about, but I hadn't said it out loud. I know Kevin Samuel said it a different way. He talked about how people of other cultures, their men are still men within the confines of the relationship. Like when the men and the women cross the border, he's a migrant worker, he's making pennies on the dollar, but he's still seen as the man in the relationship. Why do you think I'll say in the Black community specifically, because I can't speak for a lot of other family dynamics in other cultures, right. Why do you believe that when we lack provision, we're not seen as men? Like, what do you think what do you think the divide is, the distinction?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of times in the Black community or in American, like when you're poor in America as well, just in general, like you kind of get more help if they're not there. So like to some degree, if he doesn't provide, it's almost like he kind of doesn't hold any value just because the cost of living here is so expensive, and like you can't get a lot of help if he's there. So I just feel like to some degree it's like baked into like being poor or very low income in America, that it's almost like not only does he not provide like financial help, but then he also blocks you from some. And then like we put a lot of value on money in America as capitalists. So I just think the men don't value themselves when they don't provide a certain level. And they also, if they just really don't provide, they kind of in the way of you getting help. So like get the fuck out. Like what you here for? If I can't get nothing with you in the house and you ain't doing shit, you can go. So I just feel like it's like our culture. I don't even think it's really like a Black thing specific. I think it's more of American culture kind of.
I can respect it. I was just curious to get your take on that. I don't know. I've always just felt there's a particular dehumanization that's been in a lot of these conversations around men who can't provide. I can't remember who said it. But they talked about, it might have been Iyanla during this whole bus thing. It might have been Iyanla, but they talked about, and I wish I could remember the words. There's been so many conversations, but there's the man has value beyond just what he brings. Excuse me, what he brings financially.
That's the other
like, and that's, you said what?
I said I just thought about the other problem too. It's like the Black community, a lot of men weren't raised about like don't have male role models coming up, so like. The resilience isn't there. They don't value themselves and have the confidence if they also don't make money. So then it's like that presence can't even really be there. Like some of them don't even want to be like, don't feel comfortable in that space. And so they feel a way about it. And then they like self-sabotage. Some will just completely remove themselves from the equation. Yeah. And then like, just kind of that. There are a lot of men who I see who are good men and like work and they're home, but they kind of just there. They don't really even know how to be present in the home as the other energy. So it's like, I'm sorry, but all men don't provide value when they're not providing. And they're like, some men just don't. They just crash and like self-loathe and just poison everything around them.
Yeah, I'll have to I can't dispute that. He doesn't feel like a man internally, and that energy is not it. Okay, all right.
It's one thing to be in a situation where you see that where you see a future, however bloody, and to be in a situation where you see no future at all.
But you are. It is incumbent.
If I know
a future.
If I know what I'm demanding of you, in some sense, makes sense.
Just real quick, when I heard her talking about it's incumbent that you see a future, I remember when Quantum was in the chat talking about you need a man with a vision. I saw Quantum's words in chat. I was like, I hate it. They stay Quantum.
Yeah, he gotta
And
have
I know
some
the
purpose.
fact the kid is not eating today or
He's got to have some purpose. I see much of what Bree says in the far less melanated, but similarly financially inactive men in my community. I would agree it's less of a black thing than a low-income thing. Yeah, I just said I didn't want to speak for other people. I know it exists, but I didn't want to speak for other groups that I don't have as much exposure to or familiarity with. Go ahead, Bree.
Oh no, yeah, I was gonna say, I think the black piece is like just I know in America, a lot of black men just didn't come up with men in the home, so I think that kind of plays. Like a lot of their manhood for them is based upon like quantifiable things like money and what they have because they don't know any other way to be. They didn't have any other examples, so that's why I think that is specific to black men. But yeah, broke men in general, like quiet as it's kept, don't be liking themselves either. So.
Got you. Hello, I'm listening in. Just wanted to give my input. I think here is based on competition. In other cultures, if the majority of the people are poor, no one needs to compete. I hear you. I hear you. If everybody's broke, then no one's broke. Everybody's just normal.
Tonight or tomorrow, in some way, makes sense.
Go ahead.
No.
Nah, say it, Bree. Say it. Don't do that. Don't do it.
I was just gonna say, by my experience dating men from other culture who were broke because they were like maybe younger and they just hadn't gotten to that place yet. They also had communities, and they were close to their families, and so they weren't completely displaced by being broke as well. They still had family there supporting them, oftentimes supporting them, pushing them towards whatever. And generally, like as long as they were working towards something, like they had a lot of more support. And they still, I don't know, that's the best word I could think of. It didn't seem like they felt as displaced about their current situation, especially when they were younger. Like I've just met black men who were all the same age. I dated a guy who was 24. He's Bulgarian, and he was broke. He was like broke. And when I dated black men in that same age range, they just seem to internalize their brokenness in a different way. You know, like you're young, you're 24, you ain't went to college. Like, why do you feel like you're supposed to be like this thing? You know, like you're still pretty young and you didn't go to college. So like, what do you expect? It just like the way it hit them was way different than those people who had a community and had those men in their life and saw men exist in ways outside of just workhorses. So
yeah, I do think that does have a lot to do with our culture. Excuse me, Inya. People are separated by class and money in the United States, but people that don't have a different culture or they don't have a community like Bree is talking about, like you don't see what she's talking about. You don't see the other men go through the same cycles of life. So then you are only basing your internal framework based upon what you're hearing other people talk about of people in your situation, based upon just programming. You haven't seen it. You don't have a model. So you're going to lean on programming. And it's especially problematic here because our programming has now shifted from media to social media, where we have the most bombastic and vitriolic takes as the most heavily pushed ones. So people are being programmed with things where nobody's going to be supportive. And you don't have the community backing. So then the feelings that you're going to fear from you, the same way women and girls have a very deep feeling of lack and inadequacy about the way they appear, which is highly driven by social media. I mean, there's the social competition in real life. That was one thing. And it was driving people to all kinds of eating disorders. Right. Now it's just taken off. With social media, it's
worse
blown
now,
up.
because it just feels like regular people are living better than you. Like before, I think you just look at celebrities and you'd be like, wow, but they're celebrities. They could kind of help you still like other yourself from them. But now it's just like you think regular people living a high life. I mean, we just look at fucking Instagram.
And then I would say that men are going through the same thing, but their beauty is in their bank account.
Their dollars.
I mean, that's where they feel. So they'll shut down and they'll go through all kinds of problems.
Early. I'm like, I expect a 24-year-old man to be broke. Like, that's the thing, you know, for me, like a lot of times I'm talking about these conversations. I've said that before. I don't hold men in their 20s to this like standard, but I know a lot of times we don't say that, and I don't even think most people mean that. But when I'm talking about some of these requirements, these are like 30 and up men. That's like what I have in my mind, and I don't do a good job of saying that.
That's the avatar.
Yeah, I expect 24-year-old men to be broke, or like a semblance or broke, or like on their way to not being broke, but still pretty broke. But like I've just seen young Black men really internalize being broke at like 23. Sad.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yes, it's a culture problem in my opinion. And yeah, I'm behind a few minutes. Okay, man, Drill. I'm playing. Nova, rude. Motherfuckers take a hit and they start pushing towards something, but expect supreme loyalty, respect, and etc. The fuck? I don't know why I like trying to picture people's voices, but yeah, I'm with you. That makes sense, right? They haven't gotten it together yet, and that's okay. And I think that's fair. I think what you're saying is fair.
Yeah, then I can be there. But if it doesn't make any sense, and if I don't see anything coming out of it at all,
will he eat if you're not there?
If you're on welfare, he won't eat if I am there. That's the law. But I don't want to get bogged down into that. What I really mean is that yes, a man can do that if he sees a way, if he sees that it means something. My father couldn't see that.
If you do my voice, make it zesty as fuck. There you go, Dirty.
And he was quite right, because there wasn't anything.
There's something. Because all I know that works in the world is a relationship.
Yes, all right.
Okay, that's all that's going to work. It takes two people to have a relationship.
Yeah, but it.
Real quick, under what condition is welfare okay for a man? Listen, I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for welfare, man. We need to roll out some welfare out here because these men are hurting.
I think welfare is okay for anybody who can get it. That's if you down bad enough to get welfare, then it is appropriate for you to have that shit. I don't.
Tapped into my little Nas X. I can't say it. I'm with you. If you qualify, sure. But I really think though, in our society, where so much stuff is being broken down on income and people are expecting men, like you said, at 24 to have their stuff together, or they don't have access to relationships because of the programming that people are indoctrinated with in our culture, man, we need some welfare, man. If women are displacing men, robots are displacing men, if all the labor that men have done is being duplicated, triplicated by machines and automation, well, the men are being displaced. And sure, while they're learning, because this is what would happen with any other demographic, while they're learning to become sufficient in this new world that they haven't adapted to, there will become some sort of social support to help them migrate to this new way of living. That typically is what happens when people are displaced. There's an agency that comes in, helps them relocate, adjust, all of that stuff. There are social supports built into it. Nothing's really happening for men like that except for these red pill grifters. And I think we have to be more proactive than that because men are getting lost in a shuffle. And I don't even think it has to be like most men need to be saved or anything. I just think we've crossed the threshold where it's untenable. It's not sustainable. But it's a feeling. I don't have a fact. I don't have a number behind that.
No, I don't have anything to add. You can.
Forget you, quantum.
But the relationship.
If you don't have a dream, fake it.
But the relationship, you can't fake it.
See, there we go.
You've got to fake it because we don't have dreams these days. How the hell can you have a dream? For what?
Well, it isn't.
So everybody's jiving, but let's jive on that level.
Now, that's an interesting thing because Quantum's talking about a vision. You talked about men giving up when they're broke and giving up too early in life.
Yeah.
And she's talking about having a dream, like fake it, like because we're under a lot of delusions. We're doing a lot of lying. Why can't we lie to ourselves about a possibility that pushes us and promotes us forward? Why don't we lie to ourselves in that way? That's what she's asking for.
Yeah, I think a lot of men just aren't resilient enough to I just anything times 0 is 0. The identity property of multiplication, like anything times 0 is 0. So a lot of people just quit and they don't do shit. And then like, yeah, you definitely ain't gonna do nothing now. So like, wouldn't it be worth it to have a dream? Like, damn, like at least something. God damn. I ain't got nothing else.
Whatever, man. Listen, people had a dream, Bree, and they tried to get you to believe in it. They said, we're gonna run into the woods and we're gonna build a new black Mecca. And you were like, no, I'm not following y'all into the woods. I don't believe in your dream. So see, you're telling people to have a dream, and then when they told you what the dream was,
No, I'm not going with a bunch of black folks into some undeveloped land. As a person who had land and know how much work it takes, and knowing y'all don't have resilience, I'm not going out on the land with y'all niggas. Y'all don't have resilience because you sitting out here complaining about shit that we already knew what it was for forever. So no, I'm not going to the woods with y'all.
Yes. People give up because people don't allow room for growth. I hear y'all. I hear what y'all saying.
That's the other thing. I think what I noticed in some of these other cultures, even though it's more traditional and marriage was like encouraged, and you know, they weren't really like, get married, son. Like when you're broke in 23, you know what I mean? Like it was not cute. But that's the other thing. It's like people are taking on a lot, and then like putting more pressure on an already pressured situation. Like you adding wife and the kids like super early when you still broke, and then like, yeah, now I'm sorry you don't have the freedom in the room to figure it out, right? Like as every kid we have is another fucking mouth to feed. And like I be looking at my husband. I remember we were young, I looked at him dead in his face and was like, hey yo, you can't quit. I'm sorry. Like you just can't. You can't quit your job because do you have another line planned? You got something lined up? You don't? Okay, so like, nah, it's not a thing. I'm sorry. I would like to grant you that freedom, but like, I can't. I mean, it's not up to me, but like, before he found this career he was in, he talked about like it came up that he wanted to go to college or something, and I was like, you're not going to college. Like we have a college fund for our child that we're building, and like you're 30 something years old, and like she's and like who's gonna pay for this college, and like you ain't getting no loan. Like I'm not about to pay. We gotta find a plan like that is doable, because you talking about getting a bachelor's degree, that's 4 years. 4 years? How are we gonna, you know? And I hated to be that like grounding force for him, and he would do the same for me. But like, yeah, you start to really solidify your life in a way as you make more choices, more permanent choices. And like, unfortunately, a lot of people start way too soon and like solidify lanes for themselves they can't really maneuver out of because of responsibility that comes with those lanes. And so, you know, people should just like pump the brakes. You know, like I think there's a lot of people women too, who feel like having kids will complete them. It's like, girl, maybe you don't need to have these babies. Like y'all, you already struggling. Like, do you need another one? Do you really need another one? You know, and so I see that with men and women, but I just kind of gotta tell, like, God, chill, because you putting pressure on me to support a dream that's not realistic now. And now you want a dream. 5 kids in the hood. Now you want to run off and go to school.
Oh God.
You 43, like, nah, man. Sorry.
That is funny. I mean, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And that's true. True. That's what we called the win condition. Everybody, what looks like success for you? Like, what does it look like? What form does it take? That's something that people need to also understand, that like when Bree's talking about like what they're putting, the pressure they're putting on at 24, that's not the same thing that you're going to want at 34 and 44. Success is probably going to morph as you grow and experience things. But I don't think anybody's there to tell them that. So people think like, I got to lock this in now because this is what they told me I'm going to want when I'm 40. I'm going to want this family, and I better start it now because I don't want to be 60 and with a 15-year-old. So we're running off a lot of scripts, a lot of indoctrination, but we need to figure out what we want now, what we might want later, and be kind of in the vicinity, but not try to nail it down at 20. I think that's a hard in this culture,
Yeah,
that's tough, man.
Yeah, you need a lot of guidance to navigate that. I think of the fathers and the family was very integral into, like, even when you dated, like, it wasn't like you was just gonna be dating somebody and like their parents wouldn't know you and like be around to kind of see how y'all interact and like keep the expectations at a cute level and like really talk some sense into y'all when your emotions kind of flared up. And I mean, it's hard to it's hard to navigate that alone as well. So I acknowledge that it's hard to navigate that, and we just don't have a community and family systems to really be able to do that.
Ooh, wait, yeah, that's true, Nova. That's what we're going through. Men without dreams are scary because the people with power sell them a dream that remedies their pain, but usually at the cost of more pain. Facts, man.
If I love you, I can't lie to you.
Of course you can lie to me. And you will. If you love me and you're going off with Maddie someplace, you're lying to me. Because what the hell do I care about the truth? I care if you're there. But Billie Holiday say, hush now, don't explain.
All right, I accept that.
Of course you'll lie to me. Because I don't even want to care. What does the truth matter? And why are you going to be truthful with me when you lie to everybody else?
He was stuck on that one. Let me freeze frame on that face. He was stuck. He was stuck. I mean, because there's a deep truth, man. We lie to almost everybody that we deal with on some level. Not like a direct, the sky is red lie. But like, even when I talked about me not wanting to deal with certain people, we deal with people, and when we do it, we're lying. We're saying I accept you because we have you around, but the truth is we don't accept them, and we kind of treat them with hostility. Like, there are a lot of lies that we say on a daily basis through our words and our deeds. And it's like, okay, then if your partner is asking for a lie to give them comfort, is that a reasonable request? What do you think, Brie?
Is it a reasonable case to lie to me? Like, in this context, she's basically like, because they have this like fancy accent that I love, but like, are they saying like, is she saying like, lie to me that you have a dream? Or
no, this is in the part. I think she's getting ready to get into it. They're getting ready to get into it, but she's talking about you show up in the world, pretending for everybody else. This is where it's going into.
Oh, this that one part, right?
This is what they're heading into.
Pretend for me.
Pretend for me. Smile for me. It does sound stupid, but it's deep.
Yeah, like, but if that's the kind of person you're with, then yeah, like, why aren't you doing it? Like, if you fake, boo, just be fake. What I find, if you fake, then you just gonna be fake. But yeah, it's just a weird statement, because I'm like, is she talking about like, like being cordial with people? Because like professional, like, like if you're at work, it's professionalism, right? Like, there's a code of conduct at work, so you kind of treat people so. It's valid. Like, you shouldn't just come home and talk to me any kind of way. Like, yeah, they need to go through a filter. I don't think relationships mean you don't filter your thoughts and your emotions. And like, yeah, you can't just come in here talking to me like, however, just because we at the house. So yeah, I'm gonna need you to have some kind of filter. It don't need to be like a professional one, but like a respectful filter, maybe. Just that's it. Yeah.
But okay, like, what if your life, your job is kind of like beating you down?
Oh, so you hate your life?
Yeah, like, you hate your life. Do you owe it to your partner to come home and put on extra energy so that they don't know?
But the thing that she's missing is they're probably not, because they probably hate your ass too. Like, he hate his life. Like that, he didn't say I hate my job. Like, this man, life. So,
but
like,
it probably doesn't. But the job probably is what makes him hate his life, because he's going to resent the home that he's doing all the sacrificing at work for. It transfers.
That's just I make it a point not to be with people who hate their lives, because I just found that it's an unrealistic expectation that somebody who hates their life, whether it's from their job, that's not going to transfer. Emotions don't go places, and they can't express that at work. just like they say in therapy, like it's gonna pop up at other places. Yeah, it can't pop up at work. So where else is gonna pop up? It's gonna pop up at the house. That's why I make a point not to be with people who fucking miserable.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic ask.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing. And why does he look like he's going to tell us he's not waffling? That's it. Yeah, he's in his mind. He's definitely waffling for sure.
You lied when you smiled at that cracker down the job, right? Lie to me, smile. Treat me the same way you would treat him.
I can't treat you the way I
must.
treat him.
You must. Because I've caught the frowns and the anger. He's happy with you. Of course he doesn't know you're unhappy. You grin at him all day long. You come home and I catch hell. Because I love you, I get least of you. I get the very minimum. And I'm saying, fake it with me. Is that too much of the black woman to ask of the black man? For 10 years, so that we can get a child on his feet.
Yes. That's too much to ask. If I don't like your ass, I don't like you. So if I don't like you, I don't like you. Okay. We can make an agreement. It's not that I'm gonna pretend I like you. The agreement could be like, I'm gonna be here. We gonna get this pay for this kid. We gonna date be good. I can make agreements, but if I don't like you, I can't say that ain't gonna come out.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. I mean, she's talking like, hey, we're gonna fake it and get this kid on their feet.
We can duty it out. We can responsibility it out. But I can't promise that I'm gonna pretend I like you. If I really don't like you. I've just not seen people be able to really, really, really pull that off.
Okay. I don't know. I'm torn on this. And the reason I'm torn on this is like my nephew, when he was young, he was a kid. And it was like, you come home and you like, he wanted to, in his words, he wanted to let his hair down. And I was like, at first I was like, nah, you can't just come home and be wilding out or doing anything. But then when he said that, I was like, you know what? I remembered, for whatever reason, I still feel everything like I was still there. I feel the school days. And I'm like, I remember coming home. That's why I got in trouble at school. Like, you're gonna let loose somewhere. My mom was super dominant. Like my house, super dominant. So I couldn't act out there. My family, they put hands on you. You getting popped, you getting spanked. I'm not acting out there. They can't hit me at school. So I'm clowning at school every day. I'm letting loose at school. Class clown, cutting, whatever. I will see if I have it because I'll try to find it in you. So I let loose somewhere. So I thought about that with my nephew. Would I rather him act a fool at school or at home? And I'm like, you know what? Let me deal with it because it can be dealt with in love at home. Because I know how it could get out of hand at school. I can't trust these people with my nephew. And, I can't trust them to care enough to see through his behavior. Got to have an outlet.
For that. I think
it don't change when they're adults.
I think the best response is like, if you really do care about that person and you see their job is like making them miserable, then I would just come, okay, we got to come up with a plan to get you out of here, like get you somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could see yourself being a little bit more content. Maybe you'll never be happy with the job because work is work. But
Moesha,
I loved my job when I was a nurse, but I mean, it still had a toll on me. It still has an emotional toll on you. So, I think that's the conversation to have. Like, what can we do about this? Because I think she's saying like suffer through it and smile through it, and I just don't. I don't really take that stance through life. When my husband hated his job, I was like, so what we finna do? Because like this,
it's not sustainable.
You know what I'm saying? This ain't cute. Yeah. So I mean, what you need to be closer to happiness or contentment, because this ain't it. Yeah. And it's not sustainable.
I think the lie to me can be a temporary solution. Like, okay, we're in a tough spot. I know you talked about like you're moving. Like through the course of this move, I'm extremely anxious and we're both stressed out. So let's put on a brave face for not just each other, but for the kids, and let's power through this. And then we can settle after. I can see something like that, but I can't see that as a resolution to life.
And that's what I think. I think some of this is like before people had emotional intelligence and like really obviously knew how to process emotions, because like I don't feel like that's also like for me, it's just like because I've done work, I've had therapy, I know how to process, I know myself and kind of how to work with myself. It's like communicating to people that like I'm in a space, and my daughter is like depressed because she hasn't been with her stuff. You know, she's like in a situational kind of depression. So we actually tend to be honest about it. Like, hey guys, like this is really tough. It's okay. You may have days you feel emotional. Like I too have those days. We're not gonna lash out at each other. Like we're not. But like if you're down, if you're not your best self, like let's all understand why we're not our best selves right now. But that is by no means permission to lash out at each other. You have to learn how to process your feelings. So like maybe you know, I might see you kind of laying around. You might see me push you to go outside and get sunlight, like my mom was doing for me. And like, I hated it because, you know, like I might push you to do sunlight, but then I also may just realize you might just need a hug. Or if I see you kind of just like, you know, want a moment, we know where we all are because this is a situational thing. So we don't have to pretend we're happy, but we're also not going to just lash out at each other either. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. The emotional regulation is important. And I think there is a level of communication or something that needs to enter the space. Like you said, I feel a way. I'm allowed to feel a way, but I'm not going to allow it to be harmful to the group. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's a medium that we have to strive to find, because you should also model that for your kids. Like I'm allowed to feel a way, but I can't. It can't become a detriment to how we operate. If it starts to harm relationships, it's problematic.
Right.
So, and then you model how to work through your feelings or work in spite of your feelings. But there should be some modeling on, I feel negatively, but I'm going to do stuff positive with it. You know, I feel like, man, I had a hell of a day at work, but I'm going to play with my kids and laugh and just goof off to release. You know what I'm saying? Like transmute that energy, transform the energy into something else. So I think there's a way to do that.
Definitely hasn't needed it, because like she just kind of is sad, so she ruminates. Like you're depressed, you ruminate, you sit, you think about it. And I was like, what I'm doing is trying to create some normalcy, even in places that I know I'm not going to be forever. So try to find some kind of thing to ground your daily routine. So she needs me to kind of tell her these things. She needs to see me do it and also share with her what works for me. And maybe it won't work for her. But I mean, if I don't give her anything, she's not going to just figure it out. You know, well, she will, but there'll be like dysfunctional things like skin picking and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't think the grin and bear it is useful. Maybe there's some situations where it could be, but
it's got to be temporary.
Yeah, like if you like, we know we finna go our separate ways, but this lease got to be over in 2 months. Like maybe that's a grin and bear it, but other than that, no.
I'm with you. Good stuff.
That says, yeah, father smiled at mother. He talked to me about school today. Who cares that you can read or can't read? Most Americans can't read. Most people can't read. They look at the pictures.
Baby.
It's 2023 now, y'all.
Baby, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. And
2023.
I don't.
You can read now.
2023. I don't think the situation has changed too much on the relationship or reading. I don't think we've changed too much from this right here. I think we're still right here. Still right here.
Oh Lord. Okay. I was gonna say, well, that's an acceptable statement back then. I don't think that's acceptable now. I don't think that's acceptable.
Man, when I read that stat, because somebody said Americans are reading at the 5th grade level, I'm like, that sounds stupid. I'm like, that's dumb. There's no way.
I think it's 6th grade now. I think it's 6th.
No, it's 7th. When I looked it up, it's 7. Okay. I was like,
that's improvement. That's 2 grades.
I mean, but we're still out of high school.
I was focusing on the positive. There's 2 grades.
I mean, okay, toxic positivity. That's cool. But it's still, I think 7th grade reading levels as the average American, that's the bus driver. That's the the bigotry of low expectations right there. And I don't even mean about race. I think Americans, being so okay with Americans being at a 7th grade reading level, that's a problem. Like that should be like a national emergency, galvanize, organize, and mobilize. Like we need to be on that about being able to read and being literate and being numerate, because my tomorrow stream is about being numerate. My God. Anyway, that's just a pet peeve of mine. It's a pet peeve. Sorry. Ranty. Let's go back to James and Nikki.
Disagree, but no, I'm going to be honest and think about it really. I'm not so sure that that is a human possibility. If I have to smile all day, and the cat on the job, the foreman, you don't understand why I'm smiling.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I want to smile, I'm smiling because that baby needs new shoes. I can't give a performance all day on the job and come home and give a performance all night in the house.
Okay, so one of the performances will stop.
Yes. So you say, and okay, I might be willing to go with it, but who's going to pay the rent?
You're back to that again. The rent will get paid.
Look, baby, I'm willing to play it your way, but you have to see my point of view.
I see your point of view. But the rent will have to get paid.
The price of the rent is my smile.
No. I don't want you prostituting yourself. I demand.
I don't want you prostituting yourself either. One of us has got to work.
You will work it out. Because you are intelligent enough and you are sensitive enough. You are a man enough to work out a new system. Because we started off with everybody's protest now and we're back there again. As long as the assumptions are the same, nothing will change.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Now that part right there, Bree, let me ask you about that. Somebody got to work.
I didn't like her take it all. So
somebody's got to work, but that's also the we'll go into the woods, we'll make our own system. Like we'll figure out a way.
It was given like, yeah, she just was
She's
like
not listening to him.
Yeah, it's giving like I haven't been out here actually. Like I'm not saying she don't work, but no. It was very idealistic. Yeah, I just feel like idealistic. Yeah.
But I feel like, Mandrill, no, I'm not dropping the link. This is basically a clever way to tell him work harder, to be honest, however noble that might be. And see, this is the way I take it noble. And this is what I took from what Quantum has been saying. You don't have to diminish yourself in the current system. Mm-hmm. You are smart enough and capable enough to create another way, because the rent's got to be paid. It's a necessity, and I believe in you that you're going to get things taken care of. So I'm with that to a point of I'm not going to do that right now. Like in the midst of my need, if I need this job, that scarcity and that knowledge that baby needs a new pair of shoes, like he said, that's not going to magically transform me into Elon Musk, who took time to develop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to get there right now where I'm self-sustaining. That's a process.
Yeah, you're still and then the T of it all. You still expect me to be the one to do that. Like, you're not saying, well, you buy me some time and I can get this thing going, and then one day you won't have to do that. You're like, well, you can simultaneously work full time and pay for all of our kids' shit and come up with a dream and execute it, and you'll figure it out. And it's like, girl, what? Bitch, what? When is he gonna do this? When is he gonna come up with this magical system, build it, make it sustainable, and go to this work and smile at this white man? What, mind you, if we're talking about smiling at the white man, like, also, yeah, let's see how that goes for me.
And see, what I believe, what I know to be possible is that we could do enough commerce amongst each other to make up for the shortfalls of losing business. But I also know we've gotten so far now that right now, mathematically, I don't see it possible. There's going to have to be cash coming from outside Blackness to sustain Blackness. But at that time, they could have had businesses, because that's what they were moving away from. They were moving towards integration. At that time, there could have been industry within our own groups and communities that could have been self-sustaining, but everybody was starting to, especially into the 80s, selling those off, or the knowledge was dying.
I mean, it's just not helpful. I mean, it's kind of like the argument I was having with my mom. Like, it's not helpful telling me about a fucking dream when I gotta pay the fucking light bill, and it's just not useful telling me about a dream world that does not exist in any way.
Yeah,
it's just like I'm just so annoyed with her stance, because it just like, even for the time, it's just like, you talk about a dream world that don't exist, and this man talking about putting clothes on the kids that's here now. Like, most systems take a while to build. It's not like immediately you venture off to accomplish a dream and then tomorrow it happens. These fucking kids still need to eat, like, in the meantime. So it's either I get the hell out of here so you can get welfare, and then I go off and do whatever, or like, I gotta go to this job and smile at this white man. Like, what are you talking about, lady?
I can't say B9. Now, this is what I'm gonna say. It's a macro problem. Shout out to B9, because on the micro level, you need the immediacy of income. On the macro level, we should also be, like Quantum said, we need to be trying to build things that'll sustain us when those systems that we rely on income break down. So what should she tell him, Bree? That's a good question, Quantum. What should she tell him in lieu of what you just said?
I mean, she should listen to him. Like he's saying, that's kind of a big ask, because I don't have a way to relieve this pressure. Like, I can't come home. Like, I would like to tell you that, but the likelihood that I'm gonna come home and have the energy to perform is just very, I don't think that's where the problem solving needs to happen. Basically, I think you're trying to solve the problem by just telling me to grin and bear for you as well, and you're not actually trying to and think about a dream, and you're not saying to me that you're gonna pick up the other half of the dream. You're not saying like, yeah, you work this job and I'll be over here trying to do something, and then in a couple years maybe we can go off that. So just kind of get through it, or we're gonna get through this together, or like, maybe she said that, but I wasn't here. So it still sounded like the burden of the change is still on him. The dream is still on him to execute. The system is still on him to build, and he's going to work. So like, that's where my problem is. It's not that she's not right, that we can dream for a better tomorrow, but today we got to pay these bills, baby. So like, what's up? What you finna do? What you finna do? What are you gonna sacrifice in the meantime? Like, so you want me to go to job and perform at home? So what extra are you gonna take on in this? So I don't feel like the problem solving is in the right realm. I don't think anything is completely wrong with what either one of them is saying, but the focus on, well, you just behave this way now and this will fix everything. That's false. Behave while you dream in a dream that you won't even have the time to execute. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's faulty.
I think so. She should be cool with his attitude when he come home from smiling at the white man. I'm gonna say this, and I feel like because I believe that this conversation that they're having here is still the conversation. Like, B9, I know. Trust me, B9, I know. The conversation that they're having here.
Oh, I'm like, it's not really.
Nah.
Okay.
But the conversation they're having here is the exact same one as this bus driver conversation. This is just the advancement of that conversation, because Nikki Giovanni progressed and became Ebony K. Williams. She made the money on her own. And James Baldwin is still a bus driver. So we're just at the advanced state of this conversation. So what I think should happen, just from a practical, energetic, philosophical, psychological, emotional standpoint, if a guy is going to have the pressure put on him to be the savior, the salvation, if the burden is put on him, and the culture, we know society and the culture has made the man a demeaned position. Like, it's demeaning. The type of labor, the social, the language around manhood today, it's demeaning. If you have a partner, and I'm making up a word here, there's probably a better word that I just don't know. Her sacrifice should be that she also puts on that same fake smile at that bus driver, and offers re-meaning. So if he is being demeaned, he should come home to somebody that is re-meaning him, like reintroduces that meaning to his life. And that should be her sacrifice. And if you're not willing to do that, cool. But if you know somebody's being depleted, they will need to be repleted. They will need to be replenished. They will need to be refilled. So that's something that we know in almost every realm. But I don't think that men are often seen as people that get the same type of emotional caretaking that everybody else gets.
Right. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, it's just in her argument, it just doesn't seem to acknowledge the burden that he has. And like the reality of someone doing a job they hate in spite to take care of people who depend on them. And a lot of times these men were the only breadwinners, or maybe he's not, but whatever, she's at with the kids or whatever. So it's like, it just seems to not acknowledge that there's a real pressure there. There's a real depleting of resources, emotional, physical, that he's dealing with. And so it's, it just feels kind of like you're not even acknowledging his experience to just say, well, smile more. Like in Hamilton, smile more, talk less, like it just feels like you're just telling him smile more and dream. And I mean, okay, dream and smile more. All right.
Dream and smile more. Dream and smile more. That feels familiar. That feels like something I've heard just in different
I feel like
words.
that's what like everybody says to everybody, like dream and smile more. I don't know. Like it just you break it down. It just feels very like dismissive
and empty. It's dismissive and empty.
Dismissive and empty. Yeah.
There are no direct steps to take that actually solve any problems.
Yeah.
So they both should fake it for a time just to get through that season. Now, Enya should, we did that whole thing on what was that word? Cognitive it was like wrong thinking. I'll say faulty thinking. I can't remember the word. But shoulds, we have to take shoulds out of it. Because it's not about should. They have to decide. Is it feasible to fake it for a time? Is it worth it to fake it for a time? Is it useful to fake it for a time? That's what they have to decide. Every person has to make that. And that's something they. How long?
She's talking about a dream of him building a system that don't exist.
It is work, Quantum. Relationships are work. And one of the delusions that we put on ourselves in, it's not work.
You can't make a smart goal with what she's telling him to do. You can't make a goal. You can't even plot out a plan based on what she's telling him to do. She's telling him to build a system that doesn't currently exist. Like, y'all, you know how long it takes to build systems? Like systems that can sustain people, I mean, it's not, I don't know. It's just like for a time. Okay, what's for a time? A decade? Let's just say a decade. I mean, what are we talking about? It's so no. You can't start making agreements based on time when you have no objective thing to grasp onto. So that's my problem with it.
How does one overcome anything? What do they do?
Anything? Depends on what you overcoming.
Yeah, I say it always starts with knowledge. You have to know what your obstacle is.
Yeah, you gotta know what you're dealing with. That's probably it. That's the first step. There's some things
then you have to know what you have.
You can't overcome. Yeah. There's some things you just not gonna in your lifetime. There's some things you can't get away from. There's some things you can't change. There's some things, so if we're in the realm of I can't change this, then what are we overcoming? We're overcoming the reality, or so it just really depends, y'all. I mean, I've had a baby with no medication. I can go no fucking where I'm gonna go to get away from the contractions. 10 out of 10. I mean, what the fuck I'm gonna do?
Oh, you gangster.
You gotta get through that shit. So and you done did it too. You know what I mean? There's just some stuff you can't overcome.
Man, if I thought I was pregnant, I'd just tell somebody to cut my lower half off, man. Just cut me off at the chest and put me on some kind of tubes. Cut that. Man, no. I could
These
imagine.
two people sound like they're also in survival mode. It sounds like a survival mode.
It is a survival mode. Yes, this is a survival conversation.
There's also not a lot of flexibility to dream in survival mode. Not helpful to people in survival mode to dream a better life.
And to tap back into that Ebony Williams conversation, I know Real Talk with Yanni was going in on it too. And it was kind of the same type of thing. And I just thought, as she said, Black women have done their work because they've gotten to the place where Ebony K. Williams is. But and it just struck me that in the same line of dialogue, she said, but Black people still don't own anything. Paralleling that to this conversation. Like, why, if he's out doing all that hard work and demeaning labor, why then is she not coming up with this plan? Why is she not capable to think through a new way while he's out doing the work that's the current way? Hot marriage, yeah? Take It Home podcast in the building. Chris Classic Alpha. What is up, my guy? Appreciate you.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm gonna say this. I mean, it's not a hot take, but ladies, all you can do is not get married and procreate in survival mode. If you don't want to have to deal with somebody being in this completely depleted state because they're working a job they hate, that barely pay their bills, and they don't dream, all you can do is not add to that shit by getting with them and having babies and now constraining them to not have room to maneuver. That's where I put it on the women. That's what I tell my daughters. Like, that's cute, but he in survival mode. So just know what survival mode marriage looks like. And are you ready to do that? Now, if you want to do that, girl, that's cool. But if you ain't trying to do that, then you might want to leave motherfucking survival mode alone.
And Quantum asked a further question. How did a lot of companies start? They started with filing articles of incorporation to file with the state of... No, I'm joking. Like Nova said, but providing a solution to a problem perceived by those with money. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we must corner ourselves to make a new assumption.
Okay, I buy it.
In case it was sort of like left up in the air or somebody, like
right,
I didn't get it across. I really think that my father, Jones Giovanni, is a groovy cat, and he's lived with my mother now for 35 years under holy wedlock, and I think that that's good for them. I think that sort of thing worked for them. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the main thing, that they were able to love despite it all.
That's what we were talking about before.
Right, exactly.
And you, by the way, you do not have to tell me that you love your father. I knew that.
Yeah, I think he's a gas.
Yes,
I just don't want to marry him.
And I love that ending. Like she said, I
want to marry him.
I recognize the sacrifices. Like Ebony K. Williams said, my mother was a bus driver. I recognize the sacrifices that they made. I just don't want to marry into the same situations that they had.
That's what I be saying.
Yeah, that's understandable, and I think that should be okay.
It comes
with a price. There's a price.
And that's what I mean. Like in her situation, it's like, I don't know, like why we having this conversation like some kids in. Like we having a conversation about me coming up with a new dream and shit, like with 3 kids in. Like, what?
No.
What? Right? Like what? No, I can't. No. Like, what are you talking about? So like, no, do it on the front end. Don't, if you don't want to struggle, through that, then don't. But yeah, I'm sorry.
Nah, I agree with you. There was an article that I read in Psychology Today, and they talked about attachment versus authenticity, which is kind of like what we're talking about. Do you be your authentic self? Like, like he's coming home, he's tired, he's over it, he's kicking the dog, he's just pissed. Rough life, survival mode.
You can't kick the dog.
But,
yeah.
I know you can't kick the dog, but I'm just saying.
Don't kick living beings.
The authenticity of your real lived emotions versus the need to attach, the need to be able to maintain healthy relationships and attachments, which sometimes requires you to relent 100% authenticity. You got to give that up. You got to sacrifice that sometimes. You might have to smile some when you don't want to smile. You might have to take an L on something, take one for the team. I think that's required. I know some people in this chat do not believe in sacrifice for anything for anybody. They've made that very clear. But for the rest of us, there's some level of sacrifice that's required, something that you have to give up on or compromise or something. Nah, punt that little MF. You know. So I want to read this quote from the article because it's going to lead into the final video that Bree really wanted to talk about, which we've been talking about the entire time, really.
Yeah, we kind of already do.
Yeah. When someone chooses attachment over authenticity, they're prioritizing someone else's opinion and that person's respect and acceptance over their own opinion of themselves and their personal self-respect and self-acceptance. We're born with the need for attachment and a need for authenticity. Psychiatrist Gabor Mate explains in his book, The Myth of Normal, most people abandon their true selves, authenticity, to please others and keep the relationships, attachments, even if they are ones that are toxic and destructive. Let me just catch up on the chat real quick. Have an outlet and don't just be an asshole to others. I mean, that's facts. That's optimal. That is optimal. Quantum. I think the success of most founders in starting an he's talking about the company. The problem is just because she's accomplished financially doesn't make her a better woman than her mama, who did marry the bus driver. Facts. To understand Nikki Giovanni's point, you have to understand that she operates from the POV of an abolitionist whose key tenet is imagining, dreaming of a better future to achieve better. That makes it absolutely.
I picked up the idea from her.
Yeah. Yeah, facts. That's the same thing when we were talking to I would say like well, I don't know what term I would give them. For lack of a better term, I would say the pro-blacks.
Mm-hmm.
They were dreaming of a better future where they could eliminate capitalism, and there was a lot of elimination of things and eradication of things and creating a new system without capitalism, and there was a lot of imagining. There wasn't a lot of
you need people who are visionaries and revolutionaries. Like I think they have their place in the world and history and all that. But, I mean,
yeah,
you know.
Apex, we're always sacrificing. In my opinion, the way I see the word sacrifice, we're always sacrificing something. Every choice, you sacrifice one choice for the other. Opportunity cost is literally just sacrifice. So every time you make a choice, you sacrifice one thing and choose the other. So I think we're always sacrificing. It's just we need to be more intentional about choosing what we're sacrificing. A lot of people are kind of in an automation or basing it on other people's requirements. He's still talking about businesses. Sacrifice is hard, and sometimes it can be stressful to keep up with, but at times it's needed. Agreed. Did you want to say anything real quick? Everyone sacrifices. Everybody hurts.
Anytime you're in a dynamic, everybody's kind of finding a zone of, osmosis, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, sacrifice is a strong word. I mean, it is sacrifice in its bare bones, principle of it. Mm-hmm. But I think when people hear sacrifice, once again, there's a lot of baked into that. It's like
it's another avatar.
Feeling. Yeah, it's like the negative feelings of like I had to give up something I didn't want to give up or whatever. But I do think, because I think my mom asked me the other day, like, what did I like something about sacrifice related to my kids? And I was like, for me, it didn't necessarily feel like sacrifice because I made a choice. And once I made a choice, there were just certain possibilities that weren't there anymore. And so I didn't feel like I was really sacrificing choices because like I'm married, right? So I don't look at my life as, I don't even really consider choices that single people have. Like single people without kids isn't even like, those aren't things that I even consider in my realm of possibility. So I'm not sacrificing certain opportunities that don't exist for me, if that makes sense. But then like as far as the relationship, you do give and take. It's like a give and take. I filter things. I try to speak in a way that I know won't trigger him, or like if he has expressed some things he doesn't like that I say, and it's reason, so yeah, I think that's kind of normal. That's part of a dynamic. That's a social communal dynamic, I think.
I'm with you. I want to say, Apex, you are sacrificing your patience waiting for that bus. The reason you're waiting for over an hour is because he no longer feels that his life has meaning. He'll never find a partner.
He quit. He
being
went
a
to go
bus
chase
driver.
his dream to get Ebony. He went to go try to.
He had to go
get
level
better.
up. He had to go level up.
He went to level up. Your bus ain't coming, bro.
Your bus ain't coming, man. He had to go get a. He had to go back to school.
He would have filed his LLC right now.
Yep. Umar asked us to sacrifice our grit money.
That grit money. Your bus driver need that grit money.
And it's funny though. I mean, it was a true statement that Umar said. I mean, there's some stuff that if we sacrificed and we chose to sacrifice, we could fund some stuff.
Yeah, but has he accepted that we don't want to fund his school?
Well, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, he might need to sacrifice his dream on the reality that
his dream or he needs to accept the reality. I guess sacrifice the dream. I don't know, but if your dream isn't really based in reality, then it's kind of just a wish upon a star.
Yeah, it is. It is. But we want to. I'm about to sacrifice this black card and call customer service and get my Karen on. Do it, man. Do it. Do it. Do it. Then he'll own his own bus company. Boom. Sacrifice can produce growth as well if we allow it to. Yeah. If like what Bree said she made the choices intentionally. So she owns those choices so they don't feel like sacrifice. A lot of people make those sacrificial choices that they really don't want to make, and they become resentful. So that's why it's really important to own your choices, because if you're making these choices on behalf of other people and they don't pan out, you can become really bitter. So it's something to pay attention to. Not a should, you should do this, but you should pay attention to it. I'll give that should. You should be thinking about the things you're doing. It should be thought out and reasoned. That's cool. He wants us to fund. Yeah. FDMG, baby. Open in September 2023. Family. September 2023. I need to get a clip of him talking about that. I'm going to do that. But let me bring in Dr. Orion Taraban for the final video. Why don't black women just admit that they want white men? Ooh, white expectations of black men. Excuse me.
So is black men synonymous with brokenness? Because I never.
That's the level up they
is that
really
what he's
want.
Saying? Is that baked into it that be not understand? Well, you know, the average man earns this much. So I think is that the trend of the average black man doesn't make the amount of money y'all saying. So then you don't want a black man. I'm assuming that's the statement.
I mean, that's the reality. That's the reality. If you're talking about I want somebody 6 figures or I want somebody in ownership, you're not talking about black men.
Right.
So
most of the time. You're not talking about
most of the time. No. The overwhelming majority are not in ownership, and the overwhelming majority are not in the top, 5% of incomes in the country.
Yeah, I can't speak to that because I dated all races. I was never like, I gotta marry a black man. Gave no fucks. So
yeah, I get you. But there are some assumptions that are baked into what we say that we don't consider. That when I did that video of white expectations of black men, that was part of that problem.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, Bree. I almost heard that in Be Nice Boy. That's why we don't want to be black, but they want to be white. I don't believe that's true. I think many want the lifestyle of white women.
I think people just want to be comfortable. I think people just want to avoid struggle and like survival mode stuff. And I think that, unfortunately, I think you're right in the sense it's not realistic. It's not a realistic ask, for a majority of the time. But I think it's really just coming from the place of like, I just don't want to go through some shit. I want to chill. I want to like not have to go to fucking work. Which is an offload. It's an offload. It's an emotional, it's a needy offload that you're asking. People don't want to accept it.
Yeah, people don't want to accept it. They want to like you said, they want to externalize it. I talked about that the other day too.
Package it like they deserve it.
Because Inya, I want to say, you said the exact same thing B9 just said.
Yeah, exactly.
You said, I don't believe that's true. I think many want the lifestyle of white women. Okay, so if they want the lifestyle of white women, if they want the lifestyle of white women, who are the men that white women have? White men. So you still backed into the same concept. If you want the lifestyle of somebody else, go ahead. What you saying?
And white women working. I don't know who these white women are. You could just say this needs to be a class statement.
It's an imagination.
I was gonna say that needs to be a class statement because white women who middle class, lower class, they be working and stuff. So
yeah. But there's an imagination.
rich. Yeah, like white people just kicking it. Like no.
Because it's the same thing about that white expectations of black men. She was like, I'm not going to Dave and Buster's and Applebee's. But that's an imagination, because if you go to Dave and Buster's and Applebee's, most of the people you're going to see are white people. But she, in her mind, in her imagination, whiteness, like you said, was a class construct, but not the reality. Like white people are everywhere at every level of the class structure. So what you're talking about is being rich or being upper middle class. But most people don't identify class readily. They've synonymized class with race. Low class is black. Middle class is probably some hybridized amalgamation of races. High class or upper class is white. Those are the avatars that we have in our head.
Right.
So we think white when speaking of Pookies and Red Rays. Nope.
And a lot of what people like sometimes even envision what they want, or to get to the level where they can be comfortable, doesn't even require upper class. Like you can probably get that with middle class. So some of the stuff that most of these people just want to be able to do, you can do that in middle class comfortably. So a lot of times they just throw out a number because they're like, what'll get me out of here? I want him to make $300,000 a year. It's like, he'd probably be all right making much less than that.
Yeah. I mean, there were people making 60 to 80 that live nice lives, were able to own farms and land and stuff like that. But somebody said it. Oh, it might have been Quantum or it's either Quantum, B9, or Apex. Somebody talked about the outflow, like the expenditures. I think that was right there.
Right.
Even if you can control how much you make, you need to control the bleeding. Maybe you get the 2007 Camry instead of the 2030 Benz. Now listen, I live in not the projects, but I live in the next grade up. If you're not in the PJs and the slums, like you're in the next grade up where it's like hood adjacent. I'm in hood adjacent apartments, but the type of cars that are over here, I'm like, come on.
You know how it be in the hood. You know,
and that's the money.
A little bit of money. Yep.
And that's the money. The savings and investment money is spent in looking good, in the fashioning your life.
Yeah. You still in the hood though, so you ain't fooling.
Still in the hood. Ain't fooling nobody.
Ain't fooling nobody.
When you pull up at work, everybody's impressed. But when you come home, so are there lower rich? Yes, yes, there are. B9 to 1%. Yeah.
I don't think most people, I know B9 know that, but I don't like when people talk about this, like when you say middle class, I don't even think people think the middle class, like the real middle class, because we were on somebody's stream, they talking about $60,000 middle class. And I'm like, that's real cute. But I'm gonna need y'all to start talking about what city we in, because we can say across the United States, but like boo, somebody got mad at me in chat. I was like, if you in Atlanta, 60K is not middle class.
Yeah.
So I don't even think the middle class exists when you say they think poor is black, I don't even think middle class, because I think a lot of people think they middle class and they're not.
Yes.
And that's why they think they need a rich person. I think that's why they think they need an upper class person to get the lifestyle they want, because they think they're middle class and they're not.
Mm-hmm. And most of the time when they're talking about, when they do the whole 6-figure thing, that's just upper middle class. That's not even rich. Like LeBron James
that's not even upper middle class.
I mean, it all depends on like.
It depends on where you at. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So there are the lower rich. Like LeBron James is rich. He's rich by most people's standards. The person that cuts LeBron James's checks, there's another level of rich. If you can afford to make a whole team of rich people, that's wealth. You know what I'm saying? So there's levels to that, and even none of us really understand those levels, because we're up here talking. I work at Stop and Shop. I work at the corner store, but I'm talking about I want a partner to make 6 figures. I don't even know what that lifestyle looks like. I don't have any. It's crazy. So then a woman still isn't asking for much if it's 6 figures.
I'll be the first one to tell some of these men when they say, "So you ask for a man to make this, you know how many?" Sir, if he's in Seattle, he's a normal ass man. A man making that much, and like if we were in Seattle, that's why I said like some of these conversations are so out of context.
See, quantum plan
to be.
Let me pull up Kendra. Because see, woman is a you already know.
But I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, depending on, like, I think that's why that conversation is also problematic because, like in Seattle, where everybody, damn near everybody work for Amazon, Microsoft, all these places paying you all this money. Somebody making six figures is the average person you may meet walking down the street, like in certain areas in Seattle, right? But maybe like if you in the middle of nowhere, that's like a lot of money. So he's in the top 1% of that city. So sometimes a lot of these conversations aren't grounded in any kind of reality. What city we talking about? Anything. It's just nothing.
Yeah. So, Quantum, it's all cute because you said woman. Every woman, it does not make sense for every woman to ask for six figures from a man. The same way it doesn't make sense for every man to think he should be dating Halle Berry. It doesn't make any sense. So there is a problem with all people asking for six figures. This woman here who has 3 kids and is a nail tech is asking for a guy that makes $150,000. There is a such thing as reasonable expectations of your partner. It's okay to be equally yoked, but some people have unreasonable expectations and unreasonable asks. It's okay to say that as well. It's so that both of them can be okay. We can say there's an acceptable standard that a person should be able to set. And it's also okay to say that some people's standards and expectations are so out of line with their reality that they're probably never going to find that. They're both okay to say. So yes, a woman can want six figures. For some, it's not that much. For some, they'll never see it. And that's okay. There's no shame in being a bus driver. There's also no shame in never seeing $100,000 in your life. But we got to be able to be honest about that. We got to be able to be honest about that. We don't have to coddle everybody's feelings. We don't have to do that. Let's get into reality. Rich is different from wealth. Can't blow wealth. You can fuck up rich. That's funny. Yeah, exactly. We learned that real middle class is. I still don't understand how they can make these players sign those not fully guaranteed deals. Like, how is a Walton family who owns Walmart can't pay a $230 million payroll? In the Bay Area, you can make $100K and live poor.
It's poor.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so when people like, well, if he in Cali making $100, he's not no like celebrity. Like, he's just a regular ass dude. And really a broke dude. That's like a show I was watching where they were like the couple was in Manhattan. The man was making $300,000 a year, and they were poor. They were poor where they lived. Like everybody treated them like they was broke and poor, and they were making $300,000 a year. Like, so a lot of this, once again, is very variable. Depends on where you are.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is variable, but we also need to, like Giovanni and Baldwin. Some of the stuff we need to get realistic about. We need to couch ourselves in reality and be okay with some things about life are just not attractive. Some things are just not going to be pretty. They don't favor us all the time. And we shouldn't have to walk around. Our language should not have to walk around reality. We should be able to talk about things as they are.
Yeah.
I think lifestyle plays a bigger part too. Lifestyle is really important because that's how you'll blow through. You'll blow through six figures because of your lifestyle. Yeah. I knew people that made good money and ended up like being out, and they blew it. Then when something changed, circumstances changed.
Six figures, that ain't shit.
Because they lived up to their check. I was falling victim to that for a long time. Every time I got more money, I spent more money. It was so easy to do. You go nicer places, you drive nice, everything just gets nicer. So you end up right back in the exact same spot. Just with more money, more coming in, more coming out, but you just upgraded everything around you. The clothes you wear are upgraded, car is upgraded, place is upgraded, everything's upgraded, but you're still just as tight in your wallet.
Yep.
Yep, and where you live, like Bree said, yeah, because you want to move to a nicer neighborhood, which comes with a heftier price tag. Got to drive further, so you spend more in gas. So it's all kinds of little weird stuff we do. So I was supposed to be bringing this in a minute ago. My bad. So that would be due to choices.
Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsychHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the most toxic relationship belief. Unfortunately, the most toxic relationship belief is one of the most ubiquitous on this planet. It's toxic because it appears so benign. In reality, enactors of this belief tend to corrode a relationship from the inside out, simultaneously believing that they are entirely justified in doing so, which means that people go on to perpetuate the same error in future relationships externalizing blame while feeling self-righteous. Happens all the time. Okay, so what is this toxic belief? It's very simple. In fact, it's so simple, you might not believe me when I tell it to you. So I'm going to ask you to please listen through to the rest of the episode so I can help you make sense of this. Here it is. The most toxic relationship belief is, my relationship is where I am free to be myself. I told you, you probably weren't going to believe me. However, this belief destroys relationships. Now, you might be thinking, Dr. Orion, are you saying that we should be lying and faking in our relationships? No, it does not. That's a straw man argument. What I'm saying is that you are not free to be fully and completely yourself in a relationship. This belief is toxic because the people who endorse it tend to live their lives like this. Their implicit framework is out there in the world, that's where I have to act. When I'm at my job, I have to put on a smile and do what my boss tells me. When I'm on the bus, I have to tolerate the rudeness and the body odor. When I'm with my family, I have to be a good daughter or the firstborn son. And sometimes even with my friends, I have to pretend to be interested in Marlene's latest interpersonal drama or Steven's ill-remembered recapitulation of whatever the media has encouraged him to think. But in my relationships, that's where I get to let it all go. That's where I just get to be myself. I don't have to try. I don't have to perform. I don't have to generate value. My relationship is where I get to drop all role-playing, be accepted unconditionally, and finally be myself. That.
Ooh, what you think, Brie? First of all, they clown. They say they look like AI.
That's why I just say I'm not in the business of dating people who have these implicit frameworks, like you said, where they have to be good or they have these ideals of who they should be. I think for me, that's always been a red flag. If you are very performative, I think that's a red flag because then you end up in this situation. So I do agree with him. And I think the people who do this are people who have this, I should be this, or I need to be good, or I need to be nice. And that is built into how they think they need to navigate the world. So I do agree with him but that's generally for me why I don't think those type of people are good for long-term partnerships. Because then when they get home, like you're going to get the real them, which is like usually not great. Because everything they're doing is based off something that they think they should be instead of who they actually are. So I kind of agree.
Just be your damn self all the time, my G. Did he just take a snippet from that lecture I posted in Discord? I honestly don't know. He said, I promise you this. So I'm subscribed to him. And so many times I'll have a talk about something and and I know he's not watching my content, but then he'll end up talking about it like similarly. I'm like, God dang, even the thing he dropped today was like something I talked about. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Frodo Baggins, y'all dirty. Y'all dirty. Exactly. Nobody wants that shit in a relationship.
I don't want anybody whose authentic self is synonymous with being an asshole. Because then you're just an asshole and you're just better at not being an asshole sometimes.
Yeah, I think there's something to performance, and I know he's going to talk about it, but I think there's a way to perform. I think there's an acceptable way to perform. Because I know I had that issue with you before. We talked about performance. We talked about that guy that said, "You will not embarrass me," and I was like, "What's wrong with the performance? If you get the outcomes you want, why are you mad about the performance? If you get the outcomes, I want to be taken to dinner and I want flowers." Okay.
Well,
why
the nice guy paradox is because we understand usually that behind the performance there's an authentic you. And if I'm to enter into a relationship with you, I already kind of know baked into that is I get to see that authentic you that you feel like your niceness is not.
Yeah. And I did learn that. I mean, I would say a lot of this stuff will overlap because I'm guessing these guys work in the same field and train the same, I guess. It's quite possible. I also think he's also takes like content from psychology. The same way I pull content from YouTube, I think he goes on Psychology Today, looks at articles, and then extrapolates those out. So, I mean, based on what I've seen. Again, the same this video around the same time as that thing where I read an excerpt out of that article. They both were released around the same time. So I really think he's like on Psych today and pulling out stuff and then making a good anecdote out of it. So quite possible. Quite possible. Like shit, if you feel like you gotta be a bunch of people in public based on your environment, that's you. Don't dump the real you on me at home. The fuck? But nah, I want to let him play a little bit more.
That is a toxic belief. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this video to someone who might benefit. Please be sure to check out my top-rated GRE self-study course at stellargre.com. You can use the coupon code PSYCH to get 10% off all membership plans. The fact of the matter is that a relationship, or at least a good relationship, is a privilege. Much like a job, or at least a good job, is a privilege. Nobody thinks that they should be able to just be themselves at work.
Nobody thinks that.
Does that mean that people are lying and faking at work? I'm sure some of them are. However, a better way of thinking about it is that most people are channeling a version of themselves at work that is conducive to professionalism, which is what we tend to socially expect from people occupying a professional role. And why do we expect this? Because it eases the professional relationship. It is easier to do business with someone who is acting professionally than it is to do business with someone acting unprofessionally. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes,
So
I agree.
Professionalism is a version of yourself that is appropriate to a specific kind of role because it facilitates the transaction of value. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
The same thing is true for your intimate relationships. Boyfriend is a role.
What?
Wife is a role.
What?
This means that we tend to have certain expectations of people occupying such roles. And why do we expect this? Because it eases the intimate relationship, facilitating the transaction of value, which is why the people are there.
What? Bray, did you hear that? Just like you would on a job and you exhibit a level of you're professional.
I don't know why people keep acting like roles are them. Like, I don't know. People just have weird things. Like I be telling people, like a mother, wife, those are roles. That's not who you are. And those roles have responsibilities and like things that come with them that you you wouldn't do if you were not in that role. So like, I don't know. Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really know. I don't know what people think when they go. I'm just saying, like, I can't relate to the way he's saying people think. Like, not what he's saying now, but like, I can't relate to people honestly getting in a relationship and not understanding that the role or the title that you get in various parts of the relationship come with certain things baked into them, or else you wouldn't be called that. So like, I just can't relate to being so like, I don't even know, like not connected to that idea.
So to help me flesh this out, because you said you don't believe in the performance, but you perform a role. You perform a role.
Right. Like I don't believe in like people who think like when they were talking about performing at work, it seems to be a disconnect that she has of like Nikki Giovanni, for instance, didn't seem to identify that as professionalism or identify that as I'm not just pretending to be I'm being professional based on the job, or, you know, like there seems to be a disconnect that means something. I think there's a difference in being nice. That's not a role. Like if you feel like you have to perform niceness, then that means you're not nice. Or you're like tapping into something in yourself, in like in your standard form, you're not that way. You're not that like giving, or how to the extent you feel like you're performing to me tells me the extent of which that exists in you inherently. Now, like as a nurse, I do have to perform the role of a nurse, but you could even find in my job contract what my role entails.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But
Right.
my role doesn't entail me pretending I have virtues that I don't have. My role entails like responsibility. So for me, I think it's different because a role entails responsibility.
I'm gonna disagree when you're done.
Yeah, that's not always to me. I'm trying to articulate, but that's not always to me the same with like there's role, and then like I may be more caring and empathetic at work, but that's
there you
it
go.
in
That's a
me.
virtue.
And I have to I have to tap into that part of me, because I've seen nurses who aren't empathetic ever, and they can't tap into that part of them, right? But they still keep their job because they're performing the duties of the role.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't tap into something they don't have. Like they're not empathetic with their patients. They're not like, they can't tap into that. So it has to kind of be there for you to even tap into it. So I do agree with him in that way. But I also think that people like also forget that roles have duties and responsibilities that come with them. Also, inside you tapping into that stuff, there's also just things that are spelled out that are required of a role.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both of those things exist.
Absolutely. And what I think though is because our roles as like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, a lot of times those are not as well articulated and defined as on the job, and they're not always expressed verbally, we run into problems. But there are virtues that we expect from those roles. And like everybody, you and Quantum are saying in the chat, if it's not in you, well, if that guy is performing niceness, then it's in him because he performed it. Like you said, the lady that they couldn't perform kindness and empathy because it wasn't in them. But you're rejecting this guy's performance of niceness. So the niceness was in him because he performed it. But you also rejected it.
But he wasn't being nice. He wasn't being nice.
But he was. Like the gestures were there. Those were nice gestures. He bought you flowers. He took you to dinner. Those were nice. Nice gestures. They were there.
I think he was playing the role.
They manifested.
I think for me, you can't play the role of nice. You can play the role of gentleman. Like he was doing what I would say is the role of a gentleman. A gentleman would open the car door, he'd pay for the bill or whatever, right? Because niceness, it can be separate from the role of a gentleman. Like I can be nice to anybody. So he was playing the role of a gentleman, but he was not being nice.
Okay.
Like he wasn't being nice.
The intent matters. Hey, Anae, hello, Anae. Good to see you. I just find it. I've found every time I've spoken to women about this, it's very hard for us to get on the same page with this because, like you said, there's the intent. There's a lot of vague language, like to the same thing that Giovanni did with Baldwin, and you were like, "There's no discernible steps."
Right.
How does a man get to the place with hard, concrete language where he's doing the things that are gentlemanly and is also nice? Like there's like I can't conceptualize what you're talking about.
I think in the full
right.
Like,
thank you, B9.
I'll take it back to the nurse example. A nurse is called to be empathetic, right? And she also has duties and things that you would check off and say, this is what a nurse does, that are objectively things you can observe her do, and they're quantifiable. She takes vitals, she takes blood pressure, she gives meds, but she's also probably empathetic, and she has this and this, and she has critical thinking skills. Those are not objective things. But if a person doesn't have the capacity to do it, then they never are able to tap into that real critical thinking or that real empathy, and they can still check off the stuff that they need to do to keep their job. And so it's the same as a gentleman. I think gentlemen should be nice, but if you don't have it in you to actually be nice because you lack empathy or you lack whatever that's required to be nice, you can check off opening my car door and paying my tab and buying me flowers, but then when I'm expressing to you an uncomfortability or I'm expressing to you this, you're not able to notice that, and that in turn means you're not being nice.
Okay. All right.
It's not in you.
Got you. He was being a gentleman, not being nice. A nice guy is very transparent and honest. What I believe, though, is some of these labels, like a lot of stuff we've talked about today, they're avatars. And for each person, it stands for something else. Nice guy, a gentleman. And there is no, like I said, there's no codified terminology. I mean, we could go to the dictionary, but who wants to do that? We then extrapolate. You said what?
But we can always go to the dictionary.
I know we could, but I'm talking about as far as society. Nobody's like when people are having a conversation with their friends or something, they're not going to go to the dictionary like, I want to call him a gentleman, but let me make sure I know what that word means. Like nobody's going to do that. They're going to go with the idea that's already in their head, and they're just going to say it. Oh, he was a nice guy. They're just going to say that. They're not going to look up what nice actually means. A nice, kind is probably it too. Yeah. But I feel like
kind, yeah.
And I feel like I think that's what Bree is saying. He's performing niceties, but there's no kindness behind it. Because when I say something that's unfavorable to him, I can tell by the reaction that it wasn't like from hostile. A kind place.
He gets a downright hostile, just like not nice. So even if you said nice, like nice is pleasant and like this and that, so I would still say he was not nice. I mean, if you see the video, it's like, okay, you sound downright hostile. So whether you want to say kind or nice, that ain't it. We know hostility ain't nice.
I'm with you. There's a point, and now this is where I'm having trouble articulating it. There's a point when I'm hearing people talk, and not you, just over a lot of these conversations. I'm broadening this out. When I hear a lot of the conversations, they're talking about a lot of social performance. But then when it comes to an actual person, then they leave the realm of social performance. And then they want to start to inject things like intent. And I want it to be because of we start stacking on conditions and qualifications. Because a lot of times when people are having conversations where we're doing the programming, the societal programming, when we're telling people how they should operate, we're using things like, oh, you need to do these social performances. We're not telling them what in energy that they need to embody. Yeah, that you should be coming from a place of caring for them as blah, 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 blah. Like there's not a lot of nuanced instruction.
Right.
So I think that's what I
mean, people want that list so they can feel like they're doing the job. But, embodying something, some people just will never do it. I mean, I've had to tell people they had to get fired. Like you just can't do it. Maybe this isn't the place for you, but like this, everybody can't embody everything. So even with the roles in relationship, like as a wife, there are things I can check off to say this is what a wife does and this is what we agreed upon. But if I like care and some of the other stuff that's not objectively measurable, I mean, I may not ever be able to embody that if it's just not in me somewhere.
Yeah. And I know I said 30 minutes. It's probably been about 50. I'm getting ready to drop the link in a second. I'm going to hit play on the video, and then we'll drop the link for like the last 20 minutes or so.
And assuming
what's up, Greg Bryant?
Good boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife, it is a privilege to occupy that role. I hate to break it to you, but the only time when you are free to be yourself is when you are alone. You may not want to hear it, but it's the truth.
Ooh.
Relationships are roles. Some of that role is socially determined, and some of that role is defined by negotiated expectations. But a role is a role. Saying or doing things that conflict with the expectations of that role is going to go over in that relationship about as well as saying or doing things that conflict with professionalism will at work. And the most common way that people conflict with their relationship roles is by slacking off. At work, you have to do your job every single day. You do not reach a point at work where you get to stop trying. Every day, you have to show up and deliver. You need some time off, you take some time off. But you do not get to clock in and not make an effort. If you fail to do so, people will fail to pay you. And this is entirely reasonable. Paying you for not making an effort is being complicit in your own robbery. And if this is something that is difficult for you to understand, then perhaps the privilege of a job isn't for you. A relationship is no different. You have to show up every single day. You do not reach a point in your relationship where you get to stop trying. Every day, you have to show up and deliver. You need some time to yourself, you take some time to yourself, but you do not get to clock in and not make an effort. If you fail to do so, people will fail to compensate you with the benefits of a relationship, and this is entirely reasonable. Compensating you for not making an effort is being complicit in the theft of your time.
Were you going to say something, Bri?
No, I agree with what he's saying. Yeah.
Among other things.
Thought I saw you mic up.
And if this is something that is difficult for you to understand, then perhaps the privilege of a relationship isn't for you.
Did I just back up, or did he repeat it?
Let me give you a very specific example of how this presents itself in heterosexual relationships.
I think he's just repeating himself. He said, "Well,
yeah, I think the idea is pretty clear. I mean, I agree. I think I think most people don't separate the self from the role, is what I'm hearing. I don't think a lot of people separate them or see themselves separate from the role. Like, you are you.
Yeah.
Like, I am me, and then I'm me as a mother, and I'm me as a wife, and each one of those roles requires some different aspect of me to come forward or come forth. And it's not a part of me that maybe it's just there, like in my natural state when I'm alone. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's kind of what he's speaking to. Like, as a wife, I'm supposed to be a lover to my husband. I'm supposed to be like a companion to him. And so that's not something I would ever have to be called to do by myself. So, like, that is an aspect of the self that you only tap into once you have a role and someone else to interact with to complete that role. So, yeah, you have to, in that way, you are making a choice to exist in that role and live up to it and do the things that are called from by that role. I mean, of course, the more you want to do that, and of course, the more you're just drawn to do it, the better. It's less work, but it is a choice, though. It is something that you're choosing to bring forward from the self. It's not how you would be in your natural state. You were like in the house alone.
Yeah.
So I agree in that way.
I'm gonna finish up this vid. I'm gonna just let this play out, and then we can get ready to wrap up.
I often hear men complaining to me that when their woman wakes up in the morning, she puts on a smart-looking outfit, she puts on high-heeled shoes, she puts on her makeup, and then she goes out to work. But then she takes off that makeup and changes into sweatpants when she comes home in the evening, when she is free to be herself. Ladies, I understand that it might be more comfortable to wear sweatpants around the house, but I guarantee you what your man is thinking is, why does the stranger that you interact with professionally get to enjoy a more attractive version of you than I do? Why are you more charming and presentable with customers than you are with me? And given the fact that I'm investing a lot in this relationship, I'm starting to feel hurt and cheated because you seem to be making less of an effort. This is a small example of how a relationship can be corroded from the inside out by failing to live up to role expectations. If you approach relationships like roles, and if you perform those roles capably, then you get to enjoy the privileges of those relationships. And if you stop performing those roles capably, then over time, you compromise your right to occupy that place. This means that you are not free to be yourself in a relationship. That said, you are free to express those parts of yourself that are most conducive to that role within your relationship. And if you do that successfully, you make the relationship easy, which facilitates the transaction of value. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I like it. I think people do need to. And when I said something earlier, I believe people are always looking for a place where they get to quit putting in effort. Like, even when we talk about economics, people are always talking about, I want to work hard enough so that at some point I can quit working. You know, I can quit all this passive income. I just want money coming to me while I do nothing. Right.
can just lay
Everybody's
around
looking for
and
this.
just be.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of the soft life to some degree. I mean, not. No, that's just not a thing. But yeah, if you don't have that energy to him, but you can't embody something you don't have. So trust and believe. If you don't have it in you, you can't even bring it forth, like for the role. So it's not that it's inauthentic. It's not inauthentic in the sense of if you ain't got it, you can pretend you do. But yeah, the roles you take on are important, and I don't know why that's so beyond people. I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know. Why does being yourself mean that you wouldn't? I just don't. I don't know.
Wouldn't what?
It's weird. Like being, like some people think being themselves mean they don't have consideration of their role.
One more time.
Like I'm trying to think. Like people do it's like being yourself means that you're free of considering the role. Like I think that's how he's basically saying, like, and that's what I'm hearing people pushing back kind of against it. But it's like, why would being yourself mean you don't, like, what is it about considering the responsibility of your role that seems like you can't be yourself in that?
Well, because it's true. Like there is a trade-off between attachment and authenticity. That's why I included that little quip, because the more you're yourself, like yourself, fully yourself, like it eliminates the regard. Like if you 100% regard other people, you can't also 100% regard other, like just mental, emotional, physical ability. You can't 100% be present for you and 100% be present for somebody else. The math just doesn't add up. So every bit of energy that you pour in other people comes from the energy that is not being now poured into you. Like if you're feeding your child, you are not at the exact same time feeding yourself. So if you're putting food,
that's why I think the roles make sense, because you can't be all aspects of yourself at the same time. So I'm saying I think it doesn't make. I don't understand why people are like.
Why people are confused about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't understand, like, why.
Yeah,
it just seems like that just makes the most sense. Like the role makes certain parts of you come forward, because you're not going to be all ways of like yourself all the time.
But that's the thing I'm pushing back on, because society tells people a lot of. It's already in the chat, man, Drill, which means you left and weren't here for the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're just telling on yourself.
He ain't about to know what we be talking about.
Right. I personally don't want a woman who wears makeup around the house and wears heels. You can't take a girl like that off any sick jumps.
But she probably wouldn't be doing that to go to work either. Right? Like if a woman is like I don't wear makeup type of person, then she probably wouldn't put it on to go to work, because you don't have to wear makeup for work.
Yeah. B9 wasn't waiting for the link, man. He was playing with you. He's playing with you because you were on that link. He wasn't worried about the link. What's up, Mandrell, who has not been listening for the past 10 minutes because I just dropped the link. Right. So go ahead and say something that's unrelated to anything we're talking about, because you haven't been listening.
You know what we're talking about.
Say something that's unrelated to what you've been talking about, because I haven't been listening. Mm-hmm. How dare you, sir?
He said because you asked for the link and he had made an announcement.
Hey, listen. I'm doing two things at one time, okay? I'm listening to y'all and I'm working at the same time, okay? Can I do that? Okay. Can I make a little money? Just a little.
I mean, see, this is you have to either be authentic or attach. Like you can be a part of what we're doing and attach, or you can be authentic and go make the money. But you're trying to do two things at once, and it's making both of them less efficient and effective.
Well, the way I make money is kind of streamlined now. I got it down to a formula. So I mean, but I did come across something that got my attention, and I had to address that. So that's why I missed the. Well, I dropped the link. See, that's why I missed that. But Bree understands this. Mm-hmm. Well, she used to make money. Now she just does some other things. She takes care of her children and stuff like that. It's her own fault. Nobody told her to be an adult.
I'll be chilling.
Anyway, yeah, that conversation you had with the black dude and the black woman, it's like it seemed like she wasn't even listening to the guy. He was trying to express to her, listen, here's how difficult this is for me and why I behave a certain way when I come home, and while I want things a certain way when I come home, yeah, but you are strong. You can go out there and do it. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, yeah, she can gaslight all she wants, but it doesn't work that way. It doesn't change the fact that the guy's exhausted, mentally drained, and the whole nine. And I see women do that. Hey, Anae, how you doing? I see women do that, and I'm listening to these conversations now. Well, some of the conversations, because a lot of them I divorced myself from them. But I see women doing that. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make the situation any better. That doesn't help. You know. So my thing is, what is it with people? Personally, I think it's selfishness. But I think, what is it with people when they don't consider the other person's plight? Because that's what I see a lot of. There's just no consideration for the other person, and men do the same thing with women. You know, I'm not saying wives don't have their own things to deal with, because they certainly do. I mean, taking care of a house is a lot to do if you're doing it by yourself, and you got to look after the kids. So I'm not saying that they don't have a tough job or anything. Just I still don't understand where the disconnect is. Like, how do people keep missing the mark? And oftentimes in relationships, you have one person who sees it, but the other person does not. So what would you recommend an approach be to get the other person who does not see it to then see it?
Don't be in a relationship in survival mode. I mean, I just think when people are in survival mode, you can't. I mean, it's just like when you try to go save somebody who drowned, and then they'll drown your ass too. I mean, people just don't have the ability to see. You can't empathize when you're in survival mode. It's just not how it goes. So, for me, what I'll tell my girls, don't date a man who's down bad or close to down bad. That's what I'm gonna tell them when it's time for them to get married. And don't, like, if you're in survival mode, if you're in crisis, if you're in this space, like, I don't think everybody don't need to pair off. Everybody don't need to be paired up, and because unless you have a lot of guidance and a lot of help, you're gonna, like, most people get together, get married, have babies. Like, people just go into full autopilot mode, and there's like no consideration for what your actual situation is. So, like, I'm just gonna tell my girls, like, either don't get married before a certain age, give people room to develop a little bit, and then start to get together once y'all kind of see where y'all are going, and you can see the trajectory he kind of on, and he can see the trajectory you're on. Like, that's what I'm gonna tell them, because people get in too many survival mode relationships where they're even older because you struggling to pay bills with your 5 kids. I was watching a lady on Kendra G. She's struggling. I see her going under the water. She got that one hand up, and she on there acting like she looking for love, but she not. So if I had a son, I'd be like, you better leave her ass alone. She don't have no room to be empathetic to what you got going on. She is in survival mode. She got that one hand up.
Yeah,
leave her ass alone.
Yeah, that's the situation I've been in. And
leave them people struggling alone.
I didn't know at the time, Bree. You know, but
I mean,
because I hear you saying this, I hear you saying this, and I'm just like, you know what? That spills out of that actually a very accurate description of a situation I recently got out of.
But you Captain Save, you start trying to save people. Still call Jesus.
Yeah, because you honestly, like, when you give so much of yourself, and then that person is a survivable, you're the one who gets the short end of the stick, and it's extremely painful. You get your heart broken. That's not easy to deal with.
I mean, women, that's what she's saying. She's with a guy who's in survival mode. He has no way out. He can't see his way out. He can't think of a way out. He doesn't have room to think of a way out. He's tired. He's exhausted. And he's miserable. And I'm empathetic to that. And he's probably going to be that way. He's probably going to be that way until he can get out of that situation. So my only choice is, do I want to be with somebody who in that situation? If I can see that on the front end, I might just be like, nah, I'm good. Now, we find ourselves in that situation. If we weren't in that situation, now we find ourselves in that situation where we're already together, we're already committed, we're going to have to work our way through that. But if we're emotionally intelligent, we should be able to have enough understanding that we're not probably going to be our best selves. So there's grace and there's like empathy and patience going through that situation. You know, like when my brother was in the hospital, I thought he was gonna die. My husband kind of understood that I probably was not gonna be my best self, right? Like, I'm not gonna be my best self. Okay, so you know, empathy, grace, understanding. It's really all you can do. If you don't want to do that for the person, then you have to have that conversation with yourself. And people need to be realistic. Your wife don't want to give you that. So now what?
Yeah. So that's a good question. What do you do when your significant other doesn't want to give you grace, understanding, mercy, things of that nature?
I ain't got to do shit. I mean, I'm where I'm at.
Well, I'm asking, what do you?
If I'm the person in survival mode, I'm where I'm at. I don't have the energy to consider them. That's the whole point. So like the choice is theirs to make. Do you want to be with somebody who can't have the capacity to see you because of them being in survival mode? Now, in our situation, short term, it's conditional, situational. It's not the way it usually is, but like, if I'm in survival mode, you can't make me consider you. I don't have the energy to do it. And I think that's kind of what James Baldwin was kind of like showing you. Like, I don't have the energy to give you consideration. So I don't really know what you want me to do. I don't know. You're not going to get me this. You're not going to get me to give a fuck. Everything you going to come with me to say is going to be like, this is what's happening right here. This right here, we doing this right now. What are you trying to do something with this? Because whatever you're talking about, I just don't have it in me.
I'm a Greg Bryant. Lean hard into being poor. If you don't care about money or lack of it, can't make you unhappy.
People don't care about money and can live lifestyles that's very low cost, and they're so happy. I see it all. My mom lives in the country. So many people, they're so happy. So money is not happiness for everybody.
That's
true. Answer this question.
Yeah.
Answer this question, Bray.
If that's like, if you like, for me, I talked about my insecurity about it because I come from the hood, and there's like really this like all these memories I have, and I'm just kind of like constantly like I just can't do that. But my sister-in-law has never wanted money. She don't care. She like want to live in the woods or in a tent. Like, she don't fucking care how much he makes, right? But they're not going to be in survival mode though. Like, if you feel like I'm happy, I'm content, I'm living here, this is what I want for myself. There are some people who like living off the land and having to build stuff. They're not going to be in survival mode, right? Like crisis mode. So, you know, it just what triggers somebody into survival mode is going to depend on the person. You know, some people are very flexible. Some people aren't triggered that easy. Some people are very steady, you know? And so they're not gonna, they could be down bad and not in survival mode. Now, for me, if I'm down, if I'm broke for real, I know I'm gonna be triggered because that's my backpack. So for me, I'm not messing with nobody who not established. For some other women, they don't care because they want to build, or they don't require that much, or they are just up for the adventure, you know? So that's going to depend on the person. Just not getting with these people in survival mode and then asking them to empathize with you. Like, that's stupid.
And see, that's where I actually disagree with Bree. I don't think survival mode turns off empathy. I think our culture turns off empathy regardless of financial status. People just don't care about people anymore. So I think that's pervasive throughout the entire society, and it just looks worse in poor people because, you know, there's nothing else there to take away your eyes away from the lack of empathy. You know, like these people with money, you're looking at the money. So,
well, it's their fault for being broke.
But it's people who got money who are in survival mode too. Like, in crisis. No, there's people who have been in full crisis with money.
Gotta add that to the list.
Well, that's I'm like, what is it? It's their fault for being weak. They ain't got it in them.
It depends on what trauma you bring. Some people got abandonment issues, and they can have all the money in the world.
Well, that's weak too. That's weak too. They broke.
You know what I'm saying? You know,
broke. It's your own fault for being broke.
Y'all better start figuring out what people bring in. That's
the lack of empathy you talk about, Arshawn. When people make fun of people for being poor or whatever, I never understood that. I never understood making fun of people because they're poor. Even as a child, I just even as a child, I just did not. Kids do it, and adults talk bad about people who are poor. Now, I've seen adults do that. They talk real bad about people who can't afford as much as they can.
What background are they? What background are they coming from? Like that's like can we finally get to the place where we understand people are bringing shit to conversations?
Yeah, I get it.
Don't know about.
But there are people who come from poor and very humble beginnings who then do all right for themselves, but then talk trash about people who are poor or less fortunate.
Okay.
Again, I've never understood that. I'm like, you've been through that. Why are you? And you understand, so you should understand how that feels. Why do you then talk bad about them when that doesn't help them at all? Like, it doesn't help. I don't understand the argument. I still to this day at 44 years old do not get that. It doesn't compute. Like, if a person doesn't have any money, why don't you tell them how to go get some? As opposed to just talking trash. You know what I'm saying? Like this, like one thing I plan to do.
So you one of them people that get caught up on how stuff should be. I hear.
No, I'm not caught up in it.
I do hear that when you talk.
Hold on.
I do hear that.
Oh, okay. Here's the thing. Like when I start my YouTube channel, one of the things I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have a segment where I just do videos where I just list off a bunch of side hustles that people can do. There are side hustles where you can make $500 a day, $1,500 a month, $2,600 a month. There's side hustles you can make a career off of. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna do videos where I'm gonna do a side by side what website to go to, how to apply for the jobs, all that. That's one of the things I plan on doing on my YouTube channel because people just saying, "Well, go out there, just go out there and go, just go get it."
I mean, that's not telling me all that, and it's gonna be people who watch that and don't do anything.
Fair enough, but they can't say they don't know now. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And everything isn't for everyone. You know, not everyone's going to be a trash man. Not everyone's going to be an astronaut. Not everyone's going to be a doctor. Not everyone's going to be a soldier. Certain things are going to be for certain people, and at least now, people are going to be alerted to things that they previously did not know about, like being a drone pilot. Okay, so, I've been telling people about how to be a drone pilot.
What would you say to that person though? Like once they have the information and they know and they still don't do anything, what would you say to that person?
Well, I'd say try a little bit of everything until you find something you really like.
No, they don't want. They have the information now. They don't do it. Then what would you say to that?
Fair
person
enough.
About that person?
That's your choice.
What would you say about that person?
That's their choice. But I mean, as far as complaining about there's no work and there's no money, you can't really complain about that because now I've given you options out there to try and make a decent living off of.
So now you say they don't deserve to complain.
I didn't say that it didn't deserve. I didn't say they didn't deserve to complain. I said
they can't.
Yeah, but okay, let me flesh that out. I don't think they should complain.
Okay, they shouldn't complain.
I don't think that's what I think. I don't think they should complain. I don't think that. That's me. It doesn't mean they don't have the right to. They can complain all they like. That is their right. However, do I see where they have much ground to stand on there? No. Now here's the thing. There's because I say this and I leave it kind of open-ended because I don't know that person's medical history. There might be medical things that's preventing them from doing it. There might be mental health issues that prevent them from doing it. It could be things in the household that they're dealing with that prevent them from having the time to do it. I don't know these things. I don't know those variables. So I can't say concretely that you have no right to complain because I don't know that person's life. So that's my perspective on that.
All right.
But I put out the information like being a drone pilot. I tell people like I've even dropped links where there's a link to a boot camp.
You're basically Nikki Giovanni right now. You're the same as Nikki Giovanni. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point I was trying to get you to see. Like that's typically why people come to those conversations with that kind of take.
Why is that?
The same reason that all the stuff you saying is not taking into account the plight of possibly the audience that you're listening to. You've decided that they don't have the information.
Yeah, that's not true because there's a million people giving videos on side hustles right now. The problem is the steps to acquire that side hustle are typically incomplete or incorrect. I looked into a few that people sent me, and like the steps were just not correct. The answers weren't there. So now again, this is if you care enough, you'll start digging on your own to find the correct information or to complete the information. But most people are looking to be spoon-fed. Thankfully, it was something I was passively cared about. What I could have done, I could have called around and made some connections between the information that was given, because what I actually found was that the information was actually like dead wrong, and the one company that was listed, it seemed like a scam. So I really can't even. The information, man. Most people. Go ahead.
And if you're already depleted, you gonna spend all this extra energy to go find more information. You know, like it's the same problem. People who want to be spoon fed, people who ain't got no energy, people who can't do nothing. I mean, it still goes to the same point that if the person's in enough plight or something, like there's a reason why they feel so overloaded that they needed the information fed to them to even go seek a better life for themselves. You think they really finna go and like do all the other stuff that's still required beyond information? They're probably not. I mean, they're probably not. That same person is probably still not gonna. It's not an information problem.
Okay. So yeah, I saw that. I was over here chuckling about that too. Shout out to B9. My thing is, I just want to help people in any way I can. I think that putting the information out there is one way to do so. But I agree with Arshawn that your information has to be accurate, and don't put out false information, because you're not helping anybody do anything that way.
Yeah.
You know. So I don't think I can do is.
But I just think that people are what I would like to see, which is kind of what I'm saying about this conversation. A lot of people want to be reactive to people in like you're down, so I'm gonna be reactive and say you need to do this. But a lot of times, all you can do for somebody, if somebody really down bad, like in survival mode, like you can choose to be present. But if you are present with them, then through that, then your job is going to be to hold space. It's going to be to give them grace, maybe empathy, and maybe you will take on that load yourself a lot of the times until they get beyond that. And so if you're talking about wanting to be of service to people and help people and heal people, in essence, like you have to actually understand what space they would actually need you to occupy based on what people who are harmed, hurt, aren't capable actually need from people. It's not usually more information. It's usually holding a space and empathy and grace and being there and allowing them to offload onto you. And most people don't want to do that. They just want to drive by and tell you some shit that they think is helpful. And that's not usually helpful. And I'm just talking about that from like a caregiver standpoint. So that's just a nugget I want to put out there.
Shit. All right. So before we wrap up, Mandrell, you want to give any final words? And I'm gonna give like a little closeout to what we were doing.
Yeah. Shout out to Ebony K. Williams. I've been following that sister for years. I've been following that sister for years, and I was surprised that so few people knew who she was until this recent dust up with her. Because she's done a lot of really good work for the community. Mm-hmm. She has, I mean, no doubt about it. But I do see the disconnect. Like there's a disconnect between her and relationships and what she's looking for versus, that whole thing. Hope she finds what she's looking for, and I hope it serves her well, whatever that may be. She has a right to want what she wants. I just think she needs to be a little bit more realistic with it, in my humble opinion. But yeah, thanks for having me up here. I will be back on Unapologetic Wednesday night. My sister and I will have a special guest. The Real Precious is going to be there.
Okay.
As a special guest. My sister came up with the topic this week. It's you get what you negotiate.
Yeah.
I have no idea where she's going to go with it, but I'm going to have my notes. I'm going to go somewhere with it. Maybe we'll agree. Maybe we won't. But we'll see. Tune into that. And thanks. This is why I like these conversations with you and Bree. I like what Bree said today. I really do. The whole conversation today was brilliant, as usual.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. I like it. You challenged me, Bree. You challenged me. I like that.
We drag people.
You what?
But thank you. No, say no. That's to say thank you. I appreciate
No
it.
problem. Yeah. You challenged me. Normally people don't. It's kind of a cakewalk with most people, me. But yeah, it's a much more mature conversation over here, and it's a damn shame that you guys' platforms don't get the attention that it deserves, no matter how many people I tell about it.
Rashawn don't want it, so don't worry.
Yeah.
But I've told people, and people have come over to your channel, Rashawn and Bree, and subscribed. I mean, they say they have at least, but and they enjoy your content as well. But thanks for having me. I appreciate the short conversation. Fruitful though, well worth coming up here. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you, man. Drill, appreciate you.
No problem.
All right, we getting ready to close out. Just briefly, everybody. To the title. Now, first of all, I was pulling a Bree. I got inspiration from the title from Chat GPT. I've been leaning on Chat GPT to do some stuff. But to the title, do you want marriage or a mirage? And I will tell you, a lot of people don't honestly want a genuine relationship. What they want is some fiction that they've created in their head. The thing that they desire is to be deceived. Lie to me. I want you to be the thing that I imagine in my mind when I say you're my this. You're my husband, you're my wife, you're my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my whatever word you use. There's a figment in a person's mind. And sometimes that fiction is so out of line with reality that it prevents healthy relationships. That's what's going on a lot of times. The truth is, like we've been talking about, is that people are going to have to discuss and negotiate what it is they expect and what it is they're willing to do. These things we have to come to terms. That's just something that has to happen. Everybody wants it to be easy, but this stuff is difficult. People have a hard time challenging their own ideas. They have a hard time confronting others if it's possible that they're wrong. Everybody's okay confronting somebody if they think the other person's dead wrong. But what if you're wrong? And most people don't want to step into that discomfort to iron out that side of the relationship. But that's pretty much it for me. Bree, would you like to give any last words on the conversation? And I'm just going to pull up your give me a second.
No, it was a good conversation. I think the reality of relationships, it's just a little hard for people, I think, nowadays, because people do want to find that individuality and authenticity. And I do think people are still, tend to just compartmentalize things a lot. But I think what'll make a lot of this easier, I know when we're having these conversations, it has to be generalized, but if people are out there, just like look at the actual person you're interacting with and just think about kind of what they're bringing and like what they actually need from you. And I think that would make relationships a lot better. And people like knowing how to communicate what they need. Learning how to communicate what they need emotionally and things like this. So no, I think it's a good conversation. And as far as me, I think I don't know when I'm gonna stream again. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not. We'll see how it feels. But I'll be streaming on Sunday. I got my website. I should be adding like 2 new shirts on there and crop charms, anime crop charms. So if y'all know anybody who like those, I should have those in stores soon. But the husband's coming back home maybe next week, so I might disappear on y'all ass. So I mean, I'm not gonna make no promises, so we'll see what's gonna happen. That's it.
That's what's up. And on the same note, listen, I gotta renegotiate my contract too. I know I committed. I said I'll be here every Tuesday at 3 for the foreseeable future, man. I'm gonna be here when I'm gonna be here. If y'all see a thumbnail, if y'all see me pop up, I'm gonna be here. So I can't guarantee anything. I'm going to have to through the month of May, I'm going to try to remain consistent, 2 to 3, but it's going to be an attempt. So we're going to see what happens because I have some other intentions that are creeping up that I think I'm going to need to handle to feel completely comfortable. So my scheduling here and there will be strange and changing. So prepare yourselves for that. Hopefully you watch this on the replay or you're seeing this now and hearing that. I know several of you have left. So again, thank you for everybody that's viewed. I will see you. I'll be back here on YouTube tomorrow and Thursday. So our thumbnails are already up. I'm about to head over to Twitch. Even though Yella's live, I'm gonna do, it's my Twitch anniversary. I'm gonna go over there, do an hour or two just to be in the space because it's, you know, it's an anniversary and I'm gonna go say goodbye. I don't think I'm going back to Twitch. I don't know. I really don't. So Nova's in the building. Thank you all for being here. It has been a pleasure as usual. Hope to see you next week for the next edition of...
So, what is this ism?
Here's the answer to your problems. Dr. Utopia's sensational new discovery, ism. Ism will cure any ailment of the body politic. It's terrific. It's tremendous. Once you swallow the contents of this bottle, you'll have the bountiful benefit of higher wages, shorter hours, and security. Enormous profits, no strikes. Remember, you're the big boss.
You know how long the ism been around?
Yeah.
The ism probably been around longer than the Illuminati. But we have different rituals. You know, it's always a ritual to a secret society that we live in. Ism is a secret society. It's a culture. It's a vernacular.
When you expand your emotional vocabulary, you expand your awareness of yourself. When you expand your emotional vocabulary, you understand how you can navigate in this bitch. This fucking weird-ass world that is so hard on y'all. Like, let's acknowledge that the world is very difficult for y'all, but y'all are not making it any easier, bruh. You're not. You might not like my fucking delivery, but motherfuckers is starting to talk, you know? Shaking the tables, I don't give a fuck.
Not a good day, okay? Now back to that one. Shaking the table.
Oh my god, she's so hot.
Alright, calm down everybody.